My eldest son, whom I raised single-handedly, is getting married. His fiancée is strikingly beautiful like a model, yet it became clear that beauty was her only asset when she callously told me, "You're a dropout and a stranger, so don't come." To add insult to injury, I was deceived about the wedding venue. Over time, she maintained a contemptuous attitude towards me due to my lack of formal education. She even portrayed me as the unreasonable mother who supposedly canceled their wedding at the last minute. It was unforgivable. While they were away on their honeymoon, I, Linda, soon to be 57, reminisce about my life. My husband had passed away from cancer the year our second son was born, leaving me overwhelmed with 2 young children. As the new year rolled in, I found solace only in working tirelessly day and night. My eldest son, Paul, stepped up admirably, caring for his younger brother Thomas. Even as a little boy, I did what I could for my boys, and Paul has grown into a remarkable adult. It was a challenge when he decided to enter the workforce straight out of high school. I fondly recall the effort it took to persuade him to pursue college, a distant memory now. After graduating, he secured a position at a prominent trading company and began forging a promising path. Apparently, Paul has a girlfriend whom he plans to marry someday. He expressed his desire to introduce her to me, which was somewhat unexpected given his intense focus on his career. I had imagined he would marry much later, but I genuinely felt joy knowing he wanted to start his own family soon. Having not been the most attentive mother, I worried whether he would value starting a family. However, all my concerns dissolved as Paul's wedding approached. I eagerly anticipated meeting his partner and eagerly awaited the day of their introduction. The woman who entered was slender and breathtakingly beautiful, momentarily leaving me speechless. I wondered where Paul had encountered such a beauty. When Paul introduced her, I was surprised to learn she was an actual model. He had met Sarah through his advertising work at the trading company. Sarah, 24 years old, appeared vivacious and made a favorable initial impression, though something nagged at me. She glanced around our home without hesitation, almost assessing her future in-law's residence, which unsettled me. Moreover, her refusal to even touch the coffee I offered didn't sit right with me. When Paul stepped away to take a work call, Sarah and I found ourselves alone for the first time. It was an awkward moment, and we struggled to initiate a conversation. "You'll soon be my daughter when you marry Paul, so feel free to talk about anything." I attempted to break the ice. To my surprise, Sarah looked taken aback by my words and then uttered something astonishing. "No need. I wouldn't seek advice from someone who didn't finish school," she said with a polite smile, leaving me momentarily stunned. Her smile seemed sincere as she continued, "Yes, I did leave school early, but I had my reasons. My father passed away when I was in middle school, leaving me, my younger brother, and sister with our mother. She worked tirelessly to support us, but there were limitations. I made the decision to start working right after middle school, against my mother's desperate pleas for me to at least finish high school. I have no regrets about that decision even now." I was taken aback and completely unprepared for her condescending attitude towards my education. It caught me completely off guard. "Well, I have a higher education than you, so what would I gain from consulting someone beneath me?" she remarked with a laugh, leaving me speechless. Now, the prospect of her becoming my daughter-in-law was starting to give me a headache. "Looks like you two were getting along well while I was on the call," Paul said upon his return, cheerfully breaking the tension. Sarah responded with a graceful smile, seemingly brushing off the earlier incident. "She's a delightful mother. I'm sure we'll get along just fine," she remarked. Hearing that, I almost choked on my coffee. Sensing my distress, Sarah asked with a laugh, though her eyes betrayed a lack of warmth. I sighed quietly, apprehensive about what the future held. My initial encounter with Paul's future wife, Sarah, was less than ideal. She repeatedly belittled me for dropping out of school, albeit seemingly without malice. Despite her unintended hurtful remarks, I struggled with the idea of her becoming a part of our family. Nevertheless, because she was Paul's choice, I attempted to accept her. After that first meeting, Sarah never visited our home again. I inquired with Paul about their wedding plans, and he assured me everything was proceeding as planned. He had already met her well-educated parents, both graduates of prestigious universities. They had first met during a seminar at the university where Paul himself had graduated from, and Sarah's parents had grown quite fond of him. When I asked Paul about arranging a meeting between both families, he awkwardly replied, "I'm good for now," leaving me puzzled about what he meant. It appeared that the wedding plans were well underway. Paul, occupied with his job, had delegated all arrangements to Sarah. Since Paul seemed satisfied, I find it difficult to intervene. At least he's handled meeting her parents with proper etiquette. Despite my reservations, I've chosen to observe quietly. More than 6 months after our initial meeting, Sarah reached out to discuss the wedding. Invitations had already been dispatched to various guests. They'd chosen a luxurious hotel venue, indicating a substantial gathering of over 100 guests. It's shaping up to be quite a lavish affair, a rarity these days. It sounds like you're planning quite a grand wedding, I remarked. Yes, my father owns a company, so through various connections, the guest list expanded, she explained. As I listened to Sarah, I started to have concerns about the planning on the groom's side. Paul has left everything to Sarah. I'm worried if they've considered the seating arrangements. I know Paul has left everything to you, but could you let me know who's coming from his side? I wouldn't want to be rude by not recognizing someone, I asked. Sarah responded with a hint of irritation. Sure, she said curtly. Everything's perfectly arranged, so there's no need to worry, she added, her tone coming across as somewhat condescending. I felt a surge of irritation, but I held back from raising my voice to a younger woman. The wedding was just a month away, and I emphasized the importance of having the date and time confirmed repeatedly. I asked Sarah for an invitation, but she explained they were only printing the necessary minimum. She didn't send one. We're trying to keep costs down, she said, leaving me unable to press further. I made sure to mark the date on my calendar so as not to forget. Paul had moved to a new house the previous week. The move seemed sudden, and I was left bewildered as I watched the movers take away his belongings. Paul, apparently unaware of the exact moving day, returned that evening to find his things gone. He chuckled it off, attributing it to Sarah's planning, and headed to his new home. I realized I didn't even know his new address. I assumed he would reach out to me, but so far, I haven't heard anything. On the wedding day, I dressed up and made my way to the hotel. Despite the celebratory atmosphere, I had some unresolved feelings toward Sarah. I felt like I wasn't being respected as the mother of the groom. As I entered the hotel lobby, guests, presumably from the bride's side, were gathering. I didn't recognize anyone, confirming they were likely Sarah's relatives. Making my way to the groom's waiting room, I encountered a scene that left me utterly stunned. Sitting together were a bride and groom surrounded by elegantly dressed men and women. Assuming these were Sarah's parents, I was taken aback. However, I soon realized they weren't Paul and Sarah at all, but complete strangers. They looked at me with confusion, understandably seeing me as an unexpected intruder in their private moment. Sorry, I must have walked into the wrong room, I muttered, feeling my face flush with embarrassment as I hurriedly exited. It was indeed another wedding. A sinking feeling prompted me to approach the hotel's bridal staff. They confirmed there was no reservation for Paul's wedding. Sarah had deceived me about the date and time, though I was certain today was supposed to be the wedding day. Regrettably, I have failed to confirm the location with Paul in time. Somewhere at this moment, Paul and Sarah were surely having their wedding. It dawned on me that Sarah had orchestrated this to ensure I wouldn't attend. I quickly dialed Sarah's number. She picked up immediately. What is the meaning of this? I demanded, my voice tinged with frustration. Sarah let out a heavy sigh. How inappropriate to disrupt such an important day, she scolded. She sounded alone. There was no one else around her. Sarah, you're the one being unreasonable. Why would you lie? I began, but she cut me off sharply. People who didn't finish school are strangers here, so leave, she declared coldly. Her words hit me like a blow. I ceased, thinking about the lengths she had gone to humiliate me. Paul, I understand, I said firmly. But it was too late to salvage the situation and make it to the wedding. My main worry was how Paul must have felt in my absence. In the end, I couldn't attend and returned home. The next day, I was awakened by a call from Thomas, who works overseas and had regretfully informed us he couldn't make it back for Paul's wedding. Paul reached out to me, revealing that he hadn't shown up at the wedding either. He explained, it seems Sarah had contacted Thomas, and somehow the story got twisted into me opposing Sarah and canceling the wedding at the last minute. Paul was seeking advice from Thomas on how to handle the situation. Sarah's manipulation was nothing short of remarkable. I explained the truth to Thomas, recounting how Sarah had deceived me with false information, preventing my attendance at the wedding. Initially, Thomas seemed skeptical, perhaps thinking I was making excuses. However, as I described Sarah's dismissive behavior during her initial visit, he began to believe me. Does Paul know about this? he inquired. He probably thinks I canceled at the last minute, I replied, feeling tears of frustration welling up. You won't let this slide, will you? Thomas sought to reassure me. No, I affirmed. This was no time for tears. I was determined to set things right with Paul, and my frustration soon gave way to resolve. Unable to reach Paul, who was likely on his honeymoon, I decided to confront Sarah's parents directly. I visited their home, where they greeted me with evident suspicion. As we sat down to talk, it became apparent they believed I had opposed the marriage and abruptly canceled at the last minute. I started by addressing this misunderstanding head-on. I wasn't certain they would trust my explanation, but I felt compelled to lay out the truth. Initially, they remained skeptical. However, as a last resort, I revealed my trump card, a recorded conversation with Sarah. It felt drastic, but I had no other choice. With a deep breath, I retrieved my phone and played the recorded conversation. The harsh words Sarah spoke echoed through the phone. I understand why you'd want to support Sarah. I'm a mother too, but please understand how painful it is to be excluded from my own son's wedding, I pleaded. Sarah's parents bowed their heads in silence, offering no apology. It dawned on me then. They had molded Sarah into the person she was, including her disdain for my lack of formal education. In that tense silence, I slid my business card across the table. Sarah's father's eyes widened as he examined it, then looked back at me. I'll do whatever it takes, I vowed. Paul returned a week later from his honeymoon, during which I hadn't heard from him. I feared Sarah might have influenced him, but it turned out to be an unnecessary worry. As I heard the front door open, I stepped out of the living room to find Paul walking in. Upon seeing me, he hurried over to apologize. Mom, I'm sorry I didn't realize what was happening. Soon after the newlyweds returned from their honeymoon to their new home, Sarah's parents paid them a visit. Without time to settle in, Sarah found herself confronted by her father, Joseph. What's going on? Paul, caught off guard, was stunned as Joseph burst in, shouting at Sarah. Sarah hesitated briefly under her father's anger, but her resolve quickly kicked in, leading to a heated exchange between father and daughter. Your actions are tarnishing our reputation, he thundered, tossing my business card at Sarah. She picked it up, her face draining of color as she read my title. Unknown to Sarah, I held the position of president at one of her father's crucial business clients. Despite leaving school early, I worked diligently and earned respect, rising to this prestigious role. Additionally, her father's company acted as a subcontractor for mine. Just 3 days earlier, I had terminated all contracts with his small parts distribution business, which relied heavily on our company for over 80% of its orders. It was understandable that he was upset. You need to apologize to Linda immediately, he insisted. Sarah hesitated, clearly confused. I don't see why I should apologize to someone like her, she retorted stubbornly. It was then that Paul began to grasp the truth. Reflecting on Sarah's behavior, he started to notice several inconsistencies. He apologized to me for believing Sarah's fabricated story about my absence on the wedding day. Mom, I forgot. I should never have doubted you. I'm truly sorry. It's all right, as long as you understand. But I won't reverse my decision regarding the company. I can't continue business with someone who discriminates based on education, I asserted. Paul nodded in agreement. Then he declared, the marriage is over. The scandalous news of a divorce right after their honeymoon spread rapidly. Paul apologized to the guests and reimbursed the gifts from his side at his own expense. Allegedly, there was no response from Sarah's guests. When her guests requested reimbursements, she reportedly caused a scene. The divorce was a difficult process, eventually involving lawyers. The recorded evidence I provided played a crucial role in the proceedings. Paul joked that divorcing was harder than getting married and mentioned that Sarah's father's company was now facing bankruptcy, despite attempting to return to modeling. Sarah found her reputation too tarnished for any agency to hire her. Recently, she's been spotted intoxicated, still harboring resentment towards me. The dropout old lady. There's been no sign of remorse from her. Perhaps further setbacks might prompt some introspection. Back at home, Hall suggested renovating our old house. It seems he's in no rush to remarry. I'll focus on my career, just like you, Mom, he said, bringing me joy. I felt reassured that I have fulfilled both parental roles effectively. Just be more cautious in your choice of partner next time, was my only advice. Paul nodded, looking somewhat sheepish.
The notification pinged, while my husband Mark was complaining about our mortgage payment. Another commission request, this time from Mama Fluffy the corgi. a pet influencer with 2.3 million followers. The amount they offered made my hands shake, enough to cover 6 months of the very mortgage Mark was grumbling about. "Something wrong with your phone, dear?" Mark glanced up from his coffee, that familiar controlling edge in his voice. "Just a spam email," I said, sliding my phone face down on the kitchen counter. "More coffee?" "I'm Cassandra, and I've mastered the art of invisible success. 3 years ago, I was a creative director at one of the city's top design firms. Now, according to my mother-in-law Solstice, I'm finally living like a proper wife should. If only they knew. Did you see the electric bill?" Mark pushed his empty mug toward me. "It's getting ridiculous. Maybe you should spend less time on that iPad of yours." I poured his coffee, remembering the day he and Solstice tag-teamed me into quitting my job. "A woman's ambition can poison a marriage," Solstice had declared over dinner. "Mark needs a wife, not a competitor." "I'll try to be more careful," I said, already calculating the commission in my head. 6 months of mortgage payments, all from one little hobby. The doorbell rang. Mark answered it while I quickly packaged another finished commission, a digital portrait of a German shepherd in a superhero cape. "Just some craft supplies I'm sending to my sister," I called out when I heard his footsteps returning. "Cassandra," Solstice's voice carried through the house like a foghorn. "I brought breakfast. Perfect timing, as always." She swept into the kitchen carrying artisanal pastries I knew I'd somehow end up paying for through our joint account. "Still playing with your little drawings?" she asked, eyeing my iPad. "Just keeping busy," I smiled, closing my Procreate app where I'd been working on a Max Fluffy the Corgi's portrait. My PayPal balance quietly ticked up another 4 figures in the background. "Mother brought those croissants you like," Mark said, kissing Solstice's cheek. "Though maybe we should watch the grocery expenses this month." Solstice patted his arm. "If Cassandra would learn to budget properly." I know, I interrupted, maintaining my pleasant mask. "I'm trying to be better with money." My phone buzzed again. A notification from my business account. Another 5-star review, another satisfied customer raving about their pet portrait. I had 3 more commissions to finish by Friday, and my waiting list was 2 months long. "Speaking of money," Solstice continued, arranging pastries on a plate, "have you thought about what I said about getting a part-time job at the church? Something simple, suitable for a woman of your capabilities?" I caught my reflection in the window, the perfect picture of domestic submission. If they could see my actual bank statements, they'd choke on those overpriced croissants. "I don't think that's necessary," Mark cut in. "As long as she keeps the house in order and stops with all that confusing online shopping." I nodded, remembering the conversation with my accountant last week. "Whatever you think is best, dear." Later that night, after they'd both left and I could breathe again, I opened my laptop to check my business analytics. My latest collection had gone viral on Instagram, and commission requests were flooding in. I clicked accept on Fluffy the Corgi's project and started sketching. My phone lit up with a text from Beatrice, my old co-worker. "Girl, your latest piece is everywhere. When are you going to tell them?" I typed back, "Not yet. Still playing the long game." Another notification popped up. A direct deposit from last week's commissions. More than Mark made in 2 weeks at his precious corporate job. I smiled, thinking of Solstice's condescending smile, of Mark's controlling suggestions. Let them think I'm just a housewife with a cute little hobby. Let them believe I'm struggling with basic budgeting while they enjoy restaurants and vacations secretly funded by my silly drawings. Let them underestimate me. I turned back to a Fluffy the Corgi's portrait, adding details to the crown I'd placed on their head. Every stroke was another dollar they didn't know about, another piece of evidence in my growing portfolio of silent success. The best revenge, after all, isn't served cold. It's served with a smile and a fresh cup of coffee while they never see it coming. "We need to talk about your spending habits," Mark announced over dinner, sliding my debit card statement across the table. "Mother thinks it's time we put you on a proper allowance." I paused mid-bite, studying his face in the dim dining room light. 3 years of marriage had taught me to recognize the signs. The slight lift of his chin, the way his fingers drummed against the table. He'd been planning this conversation. "An allowance?" I kept my voice carefully neutral, even as my stomach tightened. "It's for your own good, dear." He reached for his wine glass. "You seem confused about managing money. Mother suggested we simplify things." Of course she did. I glanced at my phone, where a notification about another successful payment transfer had just come through. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so infuriating. "I understand," I said, playing my part. "Whatever you think is best. That's my girl." He smiled, patronizing. "We'll start with cash only. No more of those confusing online transfers. I've already deleted some of those bank notifications from your phone. They were just cluttering things up." My fork clattered against the plate. He'd been going through my phone? I forced myself to take a slow sip of water. "Something wrong?" he asked, eyes narrowing. "No, just surprised you'd go to so much trouble for me." The doorbell saved me from further discussion. I opened it to find my sister Wendy standing there, looking uncertain. "Cassie?" She shifted nervously. "Can we talk?" Mark appeared behind me. "Wendy, what an unexpected surprise." "I won't stay long," she said quickly. I needed to tell Cassie something important." "We're having dinner," Mark stated flatly. "It's fine," I interrupted. "We can talk on the porch." Outside, Wendy grabbed my hands. "I'm so sorry, Cassie. I should have told you years ago. Solstice, she's been lying about you to the whole family." "What do you mean?" "She told everyone you've been saying horrible things about us, that you thought you were too good for the family now. That's why nobody reached out when you quit your job. She made it sound like you wanted space." My phone buzzed. Another commission notification. I squeezed it tight, anchoring myself. "I should have known better," Wendy continued. "The Cassie I know would never—" "Everything all right out here?" Mark's voice cut through the night air. "Just fine, dear. Wendy was leaving." After she left, I retreated to my home office, supposedly to organise receipts, but really to call Beatrice. "He did what?" Beatrice's voice crackled through the speaker. "Checking your phone? Cassandra, that's not okay." "I know." I pulled up my banking app, starting the process of creating separate login credentials. "But I'm handling it. By letting him put you on an allowance. Girl, you make more in a month than—" "Exactly." I smiled, despite everything. "And soon they'll know just how much more." "What are you planning?" "You'll see. Just help me set up that separate business account we talked about, under my name only." Later that night, I lay awake listening to Mark's steady breathing beside me. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Julio from next door. Saw your sister visit. Everything okay? Let me know if you need anything. Sometimes these old houses have thin walls, and I hear more than people think." I stared at the message for a long moment before saving his number. It was good to know I wasn't as alone as they wanted me to be. The next morning, Solstice arrived with financial planning brochures and a condescending smile. "We've arranged a meeting with a proper advisor," she announced. "Someone who can help explain things in simple terms." "That's thoughtful of you," I replied, serving her coffee in the expensive cups she'd bought with my hidden income. "Well, someone has to look after your interests." She patted my hand. "Mark says you've agreed to the allowance plan. Such a good decision." I nodded, thinking of the separate account I'd set up at 3 a.m, of the growing portfolio they knew nothing about, of the trail of evidence I was carefully constructing. "Yes," I said, watching her sip from the cup my art had paid for. "I'm learning so much about financial responsibility." My phone buzzed with another deleted bank notification. Let them think they're in control. Let them believe I'm finally learning my place. The meeting with their financial advisor would change everything, but they didn't know that yet. I smiled and poured more coffee, already planning my next move. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people think they've won, right until the moment they realize they've lost everything. "Just sit quietly and learn," Solstice instructed as we walked into the financial advisor's office. "Remington comes highly recommended. He'll help sort out this mess." I clutched my folder of financial documents, every account, every transaction, every commission payment carefully documented but not highlighted. Nothing hidden, nothing emphasized. Let them find it themselves. "Mrs. Dixon," a tall man in a crisp suit extended his hand. "I'm Remington. Please come in." "Just Cassandra," I corrected quietly. noting how Mark's jaw tightened at my small rebellion. Cassandra needs help understanding basic financial management, Solstice announced, settling into a leather chair like she was holding court. She's been quite confused about money since leaving her career. Remington's eyes flickered to me, then back to his computer. I see. Well, let's start by reviewing your current financial situation. I handed over my folder while checking my phone. A message from Ashton, Mark's colleague, popped up. Great seeing you both at the office party. Dinner soon? Something about her tone made me pause. I'd noticed how she touched Mark's arm at the party, how her laugh carried across the room at all his jokes. Now, glancing at Mark's phone on his desk, I saw her message preview disappear almost instantly. Deleted. These are very organised records, Remington commented, scanning my documents. Who prepared these? I did, I said, just as Solstice answered. Mark handles all the important paperwork. The silence that followed was delicious. Actually, I continued, I've always managed our household documentation, old habits from my design firm days. Mark's phone buzzed again. Another deleted message. Speaking of documentation, I added casually, I took the liberty of installing that family tracking app you mentioned, Mark. You know, for safety, it's synced to both our phones now. His hand twitched toward his pocket. You did what? Just trying to be more responsible, dear. Remington cleared his throat. Well, these records show a very interesting pattern of... Perhaps we should focus on the retirement planning, Solstice interrupted. Mark needs to ensure his future is secure. I pulled out my iPad, ostensibly to take notes, but really to check my tracking app. Mark's phone had been at Ashton's address 3 times last week, all during late meetings. Of course, Remington nodded. But first, I noticed there are some substantial regular deposits coming into the joint account. Would you like to explain those? Those would be from my business, I said quietly, watching Mark's face. Your hobby? Solstice's voice dripped with disdain. My legitimate, registered business, I corrected. I have all the documentation here, including tax records. Mark's phone buzzed again. This time I caught a glimpse of the message preview before it vanished. Miss you already. Last night was... I think we should focus on Mark's contributions, Solstice said sharply. Cassandra's little drawings hardly count as... Actually, Remington interrupted. These deposits are quite significant. Have you considered setting up a separate business account to better track your income? We prefer to keep things simple, Mark cut in. Cassandra gets confused with too many accounts. I smiled, thinking of the new account I'd already opened. You're right, dear. Simple is better. That's why I've started keeping such detailed records of everything. Every deposit, every deletion, every location. His phone stopped buzzing after that. The meeting continued, with Remington growing increasingly impressed by my documentation and increasingly confused by Mark and Solstice's dismissals. I sat quietly, playing my part while my tracking app collected data. That evening, I went to freshen up in our master bathroom. Opening the drawer for my lipstick, I found something that didn't belong, a tube of Ruby Passion, Ashton's signature shade. Looking for something. Mark appeared in the doorway. Just my lipstick. I held up Ashton's tube, though I don't remember buying this colour. Must be from that makeup party you went to. Must be. I placed it carefully back in the drawer, taking a photo when his back was turned. How are those late meetings going, by the way? He paused. Fine. Why? Just curious. Ashton mentioned dinner earlier. Should we invite her over sometime? I don't think that's necessary. He turned away too quickly. Mother wants us to focus on our financial planning right now. Of course. I smiled at his reflection in the mirror. We wouldn't want any distractions. Later, alone in my office, I added the lipstick photo to my growing folder of evidence. Next to it, I placed screenshots of deleted messages, location data, and bank statements. The picture was becoming clearer every day. Let them think I'm just sitting quietly and learning. The truth would come out soon enough, and when it did, they'd realize who had been teaching whom all along. Now, this is quite remarkable, Remington said, turning his monitor so everyone could see. There's been a consistent stream of income here, 6 figures over the past year, that doesn't match Mr. Dixon's salary deposits. The conference room fell silent. I took a slow sip of water, watching Mark and Solstice exchange glances. There must be some mistake, Solstice said, leaning forward. Mark's bonuses, perhaps? No. Remington shook his head, scrolling through the records. These are regular deposits from multiple sources. PayPal, Stripe, direct transfers. Someone's running quite a successful business. Mark's face reddened. Cassandra, what have you done? I set my water glass down carefully. Nothing illegal, if that's what you're suggesting. Just running my business. Your little drawings? Solstice scoffed. Don't be ridiculous. Remington clicked through several screens. According to these records, Cassandra's digital art business generated over $180,000 last year alone. All properly reported on your joint taxes, I see. The silence that followed was exquisite. That's impossible, Mark sputtered. She just draws pets on her iPad. I pulled out my phone, opened my business Instagram. Would you like to see my client list? The celebrity commissions? The waiting list? This whole time, Solstice's voice shook. While we've been trying to teach you about money, I've been paying for your weekly brunches. I finished for her. Those designer handbags you love? Yes. Mark grabbed my phone. Why didn't you tell me? You deleted my bank notifications, I said calmly, taking my phone back. Said they were confusing. Remember? Remington cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss investment strategies for this income stream. With proper management. She's been lying to us? Solstice stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. Making a fool of my son. No, I corrected, standing as well. I've been supporting your son, while you both treated me like a child who needed an allowance. This money belongs to the family, Mark declared. As the husband. Actually, Remington interrupted, since Cassandra's business is registered solely in her name and predates your joint account arrangements, she has significant legal protection here. I gathered my papers calmly, enjoying the way Mark's face shifted from anger to fear. Thank you, Remington. I believe we have everything we need. We're not finished here. Mark grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. Actually, we are? I pulled free. Oh, and Mark? Ashton called while we were in here. Something about meeting her later? I took the liberty of telling her you'd be busy. Indefinitely. The colour drained from his face. What about Ashton? Solstice demanded. I walked out, head high, letting them deal with that particular revelation themselves. In the hallway, my phone buzzed with a message from Beatrice. Well, how did it go? Exactly as planned, I typed back. You should have seen their faces. Another message popped up, this one from Julio. Heard the shouting from next door. You okay? Never better, I replied. I drove home alone, ignoring the barrage of calls and texts from Mark and Solstice. Inside, I went straight to our bedroom, opened my makeup drawer, and found exactly what I expected. Ashton's lipstick was gone. My phone rang again, Wendy this time. Beatrice told me what happened, she said when I answered. Are you all right? I'm perfect. I opened my laptop, checking my business accounts. 3 new commission requests had come in during the meeting. Just watching everything fall into place. What will you do now? I heard cars pulling into the driveway. Mark and Solstice, no doubt arriving to continue the confrontation. Now, I smiled, opening my business account dashboard. Now, I stopped pretending to be the confused little housewife who needs their guidance. The front door slammed open. I could hear them calling my name, their voices tight with anger and panic. I have to go, I told Wendy. Time to face the music. Give them hell, she said. I ended the call and stood up, smoothing my dress. Through the bedroom window, I caught a glimpse of Julio in his garden, positioned perfectly to witness whatever drama was about to unfold. Cassandra! Mark's voice boomed from downstairs. Get down here right now! I took a deep breath, grabbed the folder containing all my evidence, the business records, the tracking data, the photos of Ashton's lipstick, everything, and headed for the stairs. Time to show them exactly who they'd been underestimating all these years. And this time, I wouldn't be the one confused about money. It was just a few business dinners, Mark insisted, pacing our living room. Ashton is a valuable connection for the firm. Is that what you call meeting her at 11 p.m. on Tuesday? I pulled up the tracking data on my iPad. At her apartment. Solstice sat rigid on our sofa, her face a mask of barely contained rage. Mark wouldn't... The lipstick in our bathroom, I continued. The deleted messages, would you like to see those too? You've been spying on me. Mark's voice rose. No, dear. I've been protecting our financial interests. Isn't that what you always say? My phone buzzed. Another commission notification. I didn't bother hiding it this time. This isn't about me, Mark deflected. You've been hiding money, running some sort of secret business. Secret? I laughed. I have 300,000 followers on Instagram. My work has been featured in magazines. The only secret was how deliberately blind you both chose to be. Solstice stood suddenly. We should call our lawyer. About what? I opened my laptop, turning it to face them. My legitimate, registered business, or Mark's attempts to take out loans against it without my knowledge? Mark froze. What are you talking about? I clicked through several emails. The loan application you submitted last month using my business information. The bank flagged it as potential fraud. Would you like to explain that? I was trying to protect us, he stammered. Your spending was out of control. My spending? I pulled up our joint account. Like the $500 dinner with Ashton last week? The hotel charges? Solstice made a choking sound. A knock at the door interrupted us. Wendy stepped in, carrying a briefcase. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible. What is she doing here? Solstice demanded. Helping me structure my business properly, I said. She's a corporate lawyer now. Did you know that? Oh, wait. You were too busy telling everyone I'd abandoned the family. Wendy set her briefcase on the table. We should discuss the LLC formation and the separation of assets. Separation of assets? Mark's face paled. Cassandra, you're being ridiculous. Let's just calm down and... I am calm, I said, opening my art program. In fact, I'm working on a new series. Would you like to see? I turned my iPad to show them the piece I'd been developing, a portrait series titled Behind the Masks. The first image showed a woman in shadows, counting money, while a man slept beside her. The second showed a mother and son, their faces distorted with greed. You can't do this, Solstice hissed. I already am. The series goes live next week. My phone buzzed again, a message from Beatrice. Gallery owner loved the concept, offering prime space for the show. This isn't you. Mark tried a different approach, his voice softening. You're just confused, overwhelmed. Actually, Wendy interrupted, she's never been clearer. Shall we discuss the terms? I stood up, gathering my devices. I'll be in my office. Wendy can explain everything. Oh, and Mark, Ashton just posted a very interesting Instagram story. You might want to check it. What Instagram story? Solstice demanded, pulling out her phone. I left them scrambling, climbing the stairs to my workspace. Through the window, I saw Julio giving me a thumbs up from his garden. I waved back, then sat down at my desk. Opening my email, I found a message from the bank. Another attempted loan application in my business name. This time, I forwarded it directly to Wendy. My phone lit up with a text from Ashton. Mark says you're causing problems. Maybe we should talk? Sure, I typed back. Let's discuss the hotel receipts. She didn't respond. I turned back to my artwork, adding details to the portrait series that would soon expose everything. Not through screaming or dramatic confrontations, but through art that would make people look twice, make them question what they thought they knew. Downstairs, I could hear Solstice's voice rising, probably discovering Ashton's social media posts. Mark's attempts at explanation grew weaker. Another message popped up, this time from Remington. Interesting development at the bank today. Someone tried to access your business accounts. Need to discuss security measures. I smiled, adding it to my growing file of evidence. Let them scramble. Let them try to explain. Every move they made just gave me more material. My phone buzzed one final time, a notification that would change everything. Loan application flagged for potential fraud. Legal action pending. I opened my art program and started a new piece, titled What They Deserve. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just about exposing the truth. It's about letting them destroy themselves trying to hide it. Downstairs, The arguing continued. But up here, in my office, surrounded by the empire they never noticed me building, I had never felt more in control. "Your new collection has gone viral," Beatrice said, scrolling through her phone at our favourite cafe. "Have you seen the comments?" I sipped my latte, watching Mark and Solstice at their usual Sunday brunch spot across the street. They hadn't noticed me yet. "I've been a bit busy." Listen to this one. "The matriarch of Illusions piece speaks volumes about toxic family dynamics. They're analysing every detail." My phone buzzed. Another interview request from an art magazine. The launch of my Behind the Masks collection had exploded overnight, with social media dissecting every hidden meaning, every subtle jab. "There's my favourite artist," a loud voice interrupted. Ashton sauntered up to our table, wearing her signature Ruby Passion lipstick. "We should really talk about those portraits you've been sharing." "Should we?" I gestured to the empty chair. "Pull up a seat. Let's discuss everything." She glanced nervously at Mark's table across the street. "Maybe somewhere more private?" "But I'm enjoying the audience." I opened my gallery app. "Like this piece, a woman sneaking around in shadows. Remind you of anyone?" Beatrice coughed to hide her laugh. "You're making a mistake," Ashton hissed. "Mark's already talking to lawyers." "Perfect." I pulled an envelope from my bag. "Give this to him, would you? Since you'll probably see him before I do." She snatched the envelope and stormed off, her heels clicking against the pavement. Through the window, I watched her approach Mark's table. Solstice's face turned purple as she read the papers inside. "What did you give them?" Beatrice asked. "Everything. Bank records, loan applications, hotel receipts, location data, and my terms for a very public divorce." My phone lit up with notifications as Mark burst through the cafe door, envelope clutched in his fist. "What is this?" he demanded. "I believe the legal term is evidence," I replied calmly. "The flash drive has more, much more." "You're trying to ruin me." "No, dear. I'm just showing everyone who you really are. Like my art, it's all about revealing truth through images." Other customers were staring now, phones discreetly recording. "Perfect. You can't prove anything," he sputtered. "The loan fraud attempts. Already reported to the bank. The affair? Well, Ashton's been quite helpful lately, especially after I showed her proof you've been seeing her colleague Jessica too." His face went white. Solstice appeared behind him. "Mark, don't engage with her. Our lawyer said—" "Your lawyer should be very interested in the recording where you discussed pushing me out of my inheritance," I interrupted. "Julio has excellent surveillance equipment, by the way. Those thin walls he mentioned, they pick up everything." "You've been planning this," Mark realised. "All along, while playing the perfect wife." "Playing?" I stood up. "I ran a successful business, managed our finances, and funded your mother's shopping addiction. The only thing I played was blind to your betrayal." My phone buzzed again. My gallery show was trending on Twitter. The timing couldn't have been better. "If you do this," Solstice threatened, "you'll destroy this family." "You did that yourselves. I'm just creating the memorial art piece." I nodded to Beatrice, who started recording on her phone. "Let them dig their grave deeper in public." "Everything I did was for us," Mark tried one last time. "The loans, the meetings with Ashton, the deleted messages, the secret accounts. Tell me, how much of my business money did you try to siphon away?" He lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. Several customers gasped. "And there it is," I said quietly. "The real you, finally on display. How fitting." Security approached from the corner. "Is there a problem here?" "No," I smiled. "Mr. Dixon was just leaving. He has some legal documents to review." Mark looked around, finally noticing the phone's recording, the witnesses watching, his carefully crafted image crumbling in real time. "This isn't over," he growled. "Actually, it is." I turned to the growing audience. "Would anyone like a preview of my upcoming gallery show? It's called What Lies Beneath? A Study in Hidden Truths and Financial Fraud." Solstice grabbed Mark's arm, dragging him toward the door. "We'll see you in court." "Looking forward to it," I called after them. "I have so much more art to share." Once they were gone, Beatrice stopped recording. "That was brilliant." "No," I corrected, watching the video already spreading online. That was justice. The real show hasn't even begun. My phone lit up with another notification. The bank's fraud department requesting a meeting. I smiled, gathering my things. Sometimes the best art isn't what you create, but what you reveal about others in the process. Ready for phase 2? Beatrice asked. Always. I opened my gallery app, selecting the next piece to release. Let's show them what a confused little housewife can really do. The gallery buzzed with excitement as people moved from piece to piece in my exhibition. Behind the masks had drawn quite a crowd, including several familiar faces I hadn't seen in years. The detail in this one is extraordinary, a woman whispered, studying the matriarch's puppet, a portrait of Mark dancing on strings controlled by Solstice's bejeweled hands. Those rings look exactly like the ones my mother-in-law wears. That's because they're the ones I paid for, I said, stepping forward. Would you like to hear the story behind them? Before I could continue, commotion erupted near the entrance. Mark and Solstice had arrived, their faces twisted with barely contained rage. You have no right to display these. Solstice marched toward me, her designer handbag swinging wildly. These are private family matters? Private? I gestured to the central piece, counting other people's money. Like the private loans you tried to take out in my name, or the private dinners with Ashton that I funded. The crowd shifted, phones appearing to record the drama. You're making a spectacle of yourself, Mark hissed, grabbing my arm. Security? I called out calmly. Mr. Dixon seems to have forgotten the restraining order. 2 guards appeared instantly, positioning themselves between us. Restraining order? Solstice's voice rose. Mark, what is she talking about? Oh, he didn't tell you. I pulled up the documentation on my phone. After the incident at the cafe, and the threatening messages, and the attempted break-in at my studio, would you like to see the security footage? Mark's face paled. I was just trying to retrieve my property. You mean my business files? The ones you tried to delete? I turned to the gathering crowd. That actually inspired this next piece, digital footprints. Notice how the shadows form a trail of deleted messages? Julio appeared at my side, tablet in hand. Speaking of messages, I have those recordings you asked for? The ones from the night they discussed the inheritance scheme? Solstice's composure cracked. You miserable little... Choose your next words carefully. Wendy stepped forward, her lawyer mode fully engaged. You're already facing serious legal consequences. Legal consequences? A voice called from the crowd. I'd love to hear more about that for my article. I recognized the speaker, a journalist from a major art magazine. Perfect timing. It's quite a story, I said, leading her to the next painting. See this piece? The Price of Silence. It represents every dinner I paid for while they mocked my cute little drawings. Every vacation funded by my work while they controlled my allowance. Allowance? The journalist's eyebrows shot up. Cassandra, please. Mark tried a different approach, his voice softening. We can work this out privately. As a family. Family? I laughed. Like when you and your mother isolated me from mine. Told everyone I was too ambitious, too confused about money to maintain relationships. Wendy stepped closer. Or when you told our parents she wanted nothing to do with us. I was protecting our marriage, Mark shouted. The gallery fell silent. No, I said quietly. You were protecting your control. But you forgot something crucial. I gestured to the artwork surrounding us. I've always known how to tell stories through images, and now everyone can see the truth. You'll regret this, Solstice spat, as security began escorting them out. When you have nothing left. Nothing left. I pulled up my business accounts on the gallery's display screen. I think you're confused about who has what. Would you like to see the real numbers? Their faces as they saw my actual earnings, all those years of cute little drawings, made for better art than anything I could paint. After they were gone, Julio approached with a small smile. There's something else you should know. That conversation I recorded? They mentioned plans to pressure you into signing over your inheritance rights, something about making you feel too incompetent to manage it. I turned to Wendy. Add that to the legal file? She was already typing on her phone. Already done. The judge will be very interested. The journalist cleared her throat. Would you be willing to do an exclusive interview? This story is incredible. Actually, I said, leading her to my final piece, a large canvas still covered in black cloth. I'd like to show you something first. This is the centerpiece of the collection, and it's called What They Deserve. As I pulled away the cloth, gasps echoed through the gallery. The painting showed a woman, surrounded by shattered masks and counting cards, while two figures in the background reached for wealth that turned to smoke in their hands. Sometimes, I told the captivated audience, the best revenge isn't what you take from others, it's showing them exactly what they've lost. My phone buzzed with another notification. Fraud investigation into Mark Dixon expanded. Additional suspects named. I smiled. The truth, like art, always finds its way into the light. Sign here. Wendy slid the final divorce papers across the conference table. And it's done. Mark stared at the documents, his designer suit now looking somehow shabby. No Solstice beside him today. She was too busy dealing with her own legal troubles after the fraud investigation expanded. You're really going through with this? He picked up the pen. After everything I did for you? You mean everything I did for you, I corrected, pulling up my latest bank statement. Including paying for that suit you're wearing? He signed quickly, shoulders slumping. What happens now? Now. I gathered my papers. Now you get exactly what you earned. Nothing more, nothing less. Outside the lawyer's office, Beatrice waited with champagne. Ready to celebrate? Almost. I checked my phone. Another message from the gallery. Just one more stop. We drove to my old house, the one Mark and Solstice had tried so hard to control. Julio was tending his garden as we pulled up. Perfect timing, he called out. They're inside packing. Through the window, I could see Solstice directing movers, her face pinched with fury as they carried out her precious antiques. The ones my art had paid for, now being seized as part of the fraud settlement. Mrs. Dixon, I called out cheerfully. Need any help with the heavy lifting? She whirled around. Haven't you done enough? Actually, no. I held up my phone, showing her the latest headlines. Rising art star exposes financial fraud ring through viral exhibition. You've ruined everything, she hissed. Wrong again. I simply revealed what was already there. I turned to the movers. The dining room set goes to auction too. It was purchased with fraudulent funds. That was a family heirloom. No, it wasn't. I have the receipt, paid from my business account after you insisted it was essential for proper entertaining. My phone buzzed. A message from Mark's company. Regarding your evidence of corporate fund misappropriation. Oh, look. I showed Solstice the screen. Seems Mark's late meetings with Ashton involved more than just dinner. The board is very interested in those expense reports. She slammed the door in my face. That felt good. Beatrice grinned. It gets better. I walked next door to Julio's garden. Ready to show them? He nodded, pressing a button on his security system. Suddenly, every conversation they'd had about manipulating me, every scheme they'd plotted, played through speakers around the property. The front door flew open again. Turn that off! Solstice screamed. Why? I thought you'd enjoy reliving the memories, like when you told Mark to break her spirit so I'd sign over my inheritance. The movers paused, listening. Or maybe, I continued, the part where you planned to declare me mentally unfit to manage my own finances. We were trying to help you, she insisted. Help yourselves, you mean? I pulled out one final document. By the way, the house isn't yours to pack up anymore. The deed's in my name now, part of the fraud settlement. Her face crumpled. Where are we supposed to go? That sounds like a budgeting issue, I smiled. Maybe you need an allowance to help manage your money better? Beatrice snorted into her champagne. My phone lit up again, the gallery owner this time. Your new series just sold out, every piece. They're calling it a masterpiece of social commentary. Perfect timing, I said, turning back to Solstice. I'll need the house empty by tonight. I'm turning it into my new studio. You can't. Actually, I can. And I am. I gestured to the movers. Everything goes to auction except my art supplies. Those stay. As they resumed packing, Wendy pulled up with the final surprise. A truck containing all my old design firm equipment, ready to transform the space. You planned this all along, Solstice realized. No, I corrected. You planned this. Every manipulation, every insult, every attempt to control me. You built this gallery of consequences all by yourself. I just framed it properly. She stormed back inside, barking orders at the movers. Ready for that champagne now? Beatrice asked. I looked around, at Julio's knowing smile, at Wendy's proud grin, at the house that would become my studio, at the life I'd reclaimed piece by piece. Actually, I said, pulling out my iPad, I have one last portrait to paint first. What's this one called? Wendy peered over my shoulder. I started sketching, a woman standing tall among ruins, brushes and bank statements in hand, while shadows fled into darkness. I'm calling it What I Would Have Said, I replied. But I think showing them worked better than telling them ever could. My phone buzzed one final time, a message from the art magazine. Your story has gone viral. Women everywhere are calling it inspiring. I smiled, adding details to my sketch. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's creating something beautiful from the wreckage of lies. Now, I said, raising my champagne glass, we can celebrate.
The morning Jesse threw his iPad across the room was the same morning I discovered someone had stolen nearly every penny of his future. My name is Kiara, and I'm what polite society calls a special needs parent. What they really mean is that I'm the mother of a beautiful 7-year-old boy who sees the world differently than most people. Jesse is nonverbal autistic, and that morning he was having none of it with his speech therapy app. Breathe, baby, I said, picking up the iPad and checking for cracks. We can try again later. Jesse flapped his hands, his way of saying he was overwhelmed. I got it. Some days are harder than others. I pulled him into a gentle hug, careful not to squeeze too tight. He doesn't always like that. The familiar scent of his apple shampoo filled my nose as I stroked his dark curls. My phone buzzed, another call from the bank. I'd been dodging them all morning, trying to get Jesse ready for his therapy session. But this time, I knew I had to answer. Ms. Dawson? The voice was crisp, professional. This is Sandra from First National. We've been trying to reach you about some unusual activity in your son's trust account. I stepped into the hallway, keeping one eye on Jesse through the doorway. What kind of unusual activity? There have been several large withdrawals over the past few months. The account balance is currently $76.14. The world tilted sideways. That's impossible. There should be over $200,000 in that account. Let me pull up the transaction history, Sandra said. Papers shuffled. The withdrawals were authorized by a co-signatory, Teresa Brewer, my Aunt Teresa, the same aunt who'd sworn on my mother's grave she'd help protect Jesse's future, the same aunt who'd insisted I add her as an emergency signatory, just in case something happens to you, darling. When was the last withdrawal? My voice sounded strange, distant. 3 days ago. $50,000. Jesse appeared in the doorway, clutching his stuffed lion. He could always sense when something was wrong. I forced a smile for him while my free hand curled into a fist. Send me everything, I said. Every transaction, every authorization, everything. I ended the call and checked the time. Jesse's therapy session started in 20 minutes. I couldn't fall apart now. I got him into his car seat, handed him his lion, and started driving on autopilot. The documents arrived in my email before we reached the therapy center. Red numbers jumped out at me at every stoplight. Withdrawal after withdrawal, each one perfectly timed to avoid triggering automatic alerts. This wasn't impulse. This was calculated. I dropped Jesse off with his therapist, Lisa, who immediately noticed something was wrong. Are you okay? She asked, her hand on my arm. Just family stuff, I managed. I'll be back in an hour. In the parking lot, I pulled up Teresa's number. My hands shook as I pressed dial. She answered on the second ring, her voice dripping honey. Kiara, what a lovely surprise. Where's Jesse's money? A pause, then a soft laugh that made my skin crawl. Oh, that? Well, you see, Savannah got accepted into this wonderful summer program at Oxford. Very prestigious. The timing was just perfect, really. You stole my son's future to send your daughter to summer camp? Now, darling, let's not be dramatic. Savannah has real potential. She's going places. And let's be honest, her voice dropped to a stage whisper. That boy was never going to college. The phone creaked in my grip. That money was for his care, his therapy, his future. Oh, please, Teresa scoffed. The state takes care of people like him. Besides, family helps family. Savannah needed this opportunity. Jesse is family, too. Is he? Really? The honey in her voice turned to vinegar. Look, what's done is done. I had legal access to that account, and I made an executive decision. Perhaps if you'd managed your life better, you wouldn't have needed to set up a charity fund in the first place. I watched a mother and daughter walk into the therapy center, the little girl skipping, the mother laughing. 7 years of swallowed comments, forced smiles, and quiet dignity crystallized into something hard and sharp in my chest. You're right about one thing, I said quietly. Family helps family, and I'm going to help you understand exactly what you've done. I hung up before she could respond. Through the window, I could see Jesse in his session, carefully stacking blocks with his therapist. My sweet, beautiful boy, who deserved so much better than an aunt who saw him as less than human. I opened my contacts and scrolled to my cousin Paige's number. She'd been warning me about Teresa for years. Time to find out just how deep this rabbit hole went. The game was on. Paige was already waiting at our usual coffee shop when I arrived, 2 steaming mugs on the table. The familiar scent of vanilla latte did nothing to calm the storm in my chest. You look like hell, she said, pushing one mug toward me. Remember when you told me Teresa couldn't be trusted? I slid my phone across the table, the bank statement displayed. Guess who just emptied Jesse's entire trust fund? Paige's eyes widened as she scrolled through the transactions. Holy shit! She looked up. Oxford summer program? How did you know? Savannah's been plastering it all over Instagram. Designer shopping sprees, too. She handed the phone back. Teresa's been bragging about her gifted daughter at every family dinner. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth as memories flooded back. Jesse's diagnosis day. Teresa standing in the hospital hallway, her face a mask of pity and disgust. Such a shame, she'd said, patting my hand. But you're so brave, Kiara, taking on this burden. I'd been too shell-shocked to respond then, too focused on learning about therapies, treatments, and how to be the mother Jesse needed. Remember Thanksgiving 3 years ago? Paige asked, interrupting my thoughts. God, how could I forget? It had been Jesse's first major holiday with the extended family. He'd been overwhelmed by the noise, the crowds, the unfamiliar faces. When he started stimming, rocking back and forth to self-soothe, Teresa had pulled her daughter away like autism was contagious. Poor Kiara, she'd announced to the room. It must be so hard watching Savannah excel while your Jessie, well, she's always been like this, Paige said, stirring her coffee. The perfect mother with the perfect daughter. Everyone else is just a supporting character in the Teresa show. I trusted her. My voice cracked. I made her a signatory because she promised to look after Jessie if anything happened to me. She swore on Mom's grave. Paige reached across the table, squeezing my hand. What are you going to do? I don't know. A lawyer, maybe? The police? The police won't do much. She had legal access. Paige hesitated, then pulled out her business card and wrote a number on the back. But I know someone who might help. A lawyer? Not exactly. Let's say he specializes in exposing people who abuse financial trust. He helped my friend recover money from her embezzling business partner last year. I studied the number. Is he legal? Legal enough. He's a forensic accountant with some additional skills. Paige leaned forward. Look, Teresa's not just going to give the money back. She probably doesn't even have it anymore. But if you want to make her pay, really pay, this guy can help. My phone buzzed. A Facebook notification. Teresa had tagged me in a post. With trembling fingers, I opened it, so proud of my beautiful Savannah starting her Oxford journey. Some children are just destined for greatness. Blessed Shiro proud Mama Igchi, family first. The photo showed Savannah in designer clothes, posing next to a brand new Mercedes. My son's future transformed into a teenage girl's Instagram backdrop. Call him, I said, my voice steel. Set up a meeting. Are you sure? Once you start this? You know what Teresa said to me this morning? That Jesse was never going to college anyway. I gripped my mug so hard my knuckles went white. She stole his future because she decided he didn't deserve one. Paige was already dialing. Kyle, it's Paige. I have someone you need to meet. She listened for a moment. Yes, it's financial. Family trust fund. No, worse. It's about a special needs child's care money. A pause. I could hear a male voice speaking rapidly. Tomorrow at 2? Perfect. Paige ended the call. He's in. Said this kind of case is his specialty. What exactly does he do? He follows the money, all of it, every transaction, every purchase, every hidden account, and then a small, fierce smile crossed her face. He makes sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person they're dealing with. I thought of Jesse, innocently stacking his blocks while his aunt liquidated his safety net. I thought of Teresa's smug voice this morning, so certain of her superiority, so convinced of her right to decide whose child deserved a future. Tomorrow at 2, I confirmed, standing up. And Paige, thank you. She grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. Ciara, make her regret it. Make her regret ever looking down on that beautiful boy of yours. I nodded, a cold clarity settling over me. Teresa wanted to play family values? Fine. Let's see how those values held up under a spotlight. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. Kyle's office wasn't what I expected. Instead of some dark basement hacker lair, it was a bright, modern space with potted plants and abstract art. The man himself looked more like an accountant than a digital vigilante. Pressed shirt, neat haircut, rectangular glasses. Tell me about the trust fund, he said, gesturing for me to sit. I laid out the whole story, setting up the account after Jesse's diagnosis, adding Teresa as an emergency signatory, discovering the theft. Kyle typed notes on a sleek laptop, his expression neutral. And you have the original trust documentation? I pulled out the folder I'd brought. Everything. Bank statements, withdrawal records, the signatory agreement. Teresa didn't even try to hide it. They never do. He smiled slightly. People like your aunt operate on the assumption that they're untouchable, that their victims will be too ashamed or powerless to fight back. She thinks I should be grateful, I said, the words bitter in my mouth. Like she did me a favor by redirecting the money to someone more worthy. Kyle stopped typing. Tell me about your son. The question caught me off guard. Most people avoided asking about Jesse directly. He's 7, nonverbal autistic. He loves building things, anything with patterns. He can solve puzzles faster than I can. When he's happy, he flaps his hands like he's trying to take flight. I swallowed hard. That money was supposed to ensure he'd always have care, even if something happened to me. Kyle nodded, then turned his laptop around. On the screen was a complex flowchart of transactions. Your aunt's been busy, he said. The first withdrawal went straight to Oxford's summer program, $50,000. Then there's the Mercedes dealership, $80,000. Designer boutiques, luxury spas, first-class flights. He scrolled through a seemingly endless list. She burned through that money like she was trying to erase it. Can we get it back? Legally? You might recover some, but it would be a long, expensive battle. She had authorization, even if she abused it. He leaned forward. But there's another way to make her pay. I'm listening. Every transaction leaves a trail. Every purchase, every transfer, every attempt to hide money. It all creates a digital footprint. I can trace it all, document it, package it into a very interesting story. His eyes met mine. The question is, what do you want to do with that story? I thought of Teresa's Facebook posts, her constant parading of Savannah's achievements. How much of that perfect image was built on stolen money? I want everyone to know, I said. Every family member, every friend, every social media follower. I want them to see exactly who she is. Kyle's fingers flew across the keyboard. The annual family reunion is next month, right? According to her social media, she's giving some kind of speech about family values. I laughed humorlessly. She does it every year. Perfect timing. He turned the laptop again, showing me a draft report. I can have everything ready by then. Bank records, purchase histories, timestamps matching her social media brags about Savannah's new car with withdrawals from Jesse's account. Will it be enough? Trust me, when people see how she systematically drained a disabled child's care fund to buy her daughter luxury items, he shook his head. The court of public opinion can be far more devastating than any legal judgment. My phone buzzed, another Facebook notification. Teresa posting photos of Savannah's Oxford orientation. Proud mama, blessed life. Family first. Do it, I said. Show me everything you find. Kyle worked for the next hour, walking me through his findings. The pattern was clear. Every major withdrawal coincided with a social media post about Savannah's achievements. Teresa hadn't just stolen the money, she'd flaunted it. One more thing, Kyle said as I stood to leave. Are you sure you want to go this route? Once it's done, there's no going back. Family dynamics will change forever. I pulled out my phone, showing him a picture of Jesse from that morning, concentrated on his block tower, his stuffed lion watching guard. She changed those dynamics the moment she decided my son's future was worth less than her daughter's summer vacation. Kyle studied the photo longer than necessary. I'll have everything ready in 2 weeks. We can review the final package before the reunion. At the door, he touched my arm lightly. For what it's worth, your son is lucky to have you fighting for him. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing with possibilities. Teresa had spent years building her reputation as the family matriarch, the perfect mother, the keeper of traditional values. Time to show everyone what those values really cost. The pre-reunion wine night at Giselle's house was exactly as insufferable as I expected. Crystal glasses clinked, fake laughter echoed, and Teresa held court like a queen in her element. I nursed my single glass of Prosecco, watching. "Oh my God, is that a new Mercedes?" Giselle squealed as Teresa pulled into the driveway. The ruby red car gleamed under the porch lights. $200,000 of stolen future, polished to perfection. "Just a little something?" Teresa smiled, adjusting her designer blazer. "Richard says I deserve to treat myself sometimes." My phone vibrated. A text from Kyle. "Found 3 more hidden transfers. Ready when you are." "Kiara," Teresa's voice dripped honey. "Darling, you made it. How's Jesse doing?" The pause before my son's name was subtle, but deliberate. 7 pairs of eyes turned to me, waiting for the usual, uncomfortable moment when the special needs mom had to explain her child. "He's wonderful," I said, taking a deliberate sip. "He mastered a new communication app last week." "Oh, how nice." Teresa's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Savannah just finished her first week at Oxford, top of her summer intensive already." "I saw the posts," I said. "That program must be expensive." A flicker of something, fear, crossed Teresa's face before she laughed. "Well, you know what they say. You can't put a price on education." "Unless it's someone else's education fund," I muttered into my glass. "What was that, dear?" "Nothing. Just admiring your new car." Giselle, ever the gossip, bounced over. "Teresa, you have to tell everyone about your speech for the reunion. She's doing this amazing presentation about family values," she explained to the room. "I'm recording the whole thing for the family archive." "Are you now?" I asked, suddenly very interested. Oh, yes, Giselle waved her phone. Teresa's going to talk about legacy, tradition, how important it is to support each other. You know, real family values. Teresa preened. Well, I do think it's important to show the younger generation what real success looks like, what you can achieve with the right priorities. The word hung in the air like poison. I thought of Jesse's empty trust fund, of Kyle's flowcharts showing how methodically Teresa had drained it. Speaking of priorities, Giselle turned to me, wine sloshing in her glass. Are you still taking the bus everywhere? You should really think about getting a car. Public transport is environmentally friendly, I said blandly, watching Teresa's perfectly manicured hands tighten around her glass. But so inconvenient with Jesse's condition, Teresa chimed in. Though I suppose you're used to making sacrifices. My phone buzzed again. Kyle. Final report ready. Impact maximum if released during speech. Actually, I smiled at Teresa, I believe in investing in the future. Some things are more important than luxury cars. Teresa's eyes narrowed slightly. Before she could respond, Giselle clapped her hands. Oh, did everyone see Savannah's latest Instagram? Show them the Oxford photos, Teresa. As Teresa pulled out her phone, I watched her scroll past dozens of shopping sprees and spa days, each one paid for with my son's future. The other women cooed over Savannah's designer outfits, her dorm room view, her new friends. She's going to do such amazing things, Teresa gushed. Some children just have that special something, you know. The room murmured in agreement. I felt their sideways glances, their unspoken comparisons between Savannah's golden future and my son's limitations. The reunion's going to be perfect, Giselle sighed happily. Teresa's speech, all the family together, celebrating real achievement. My phone lit up one last time. Kyle had sent a preview of the report. The first page showed a simple timeline. Jesse's trust fund deposits on one side, Teresa's withdrawals, and Savannah's social media posts on the other. The pattern was devastating in its clarity. Yes, I said, finishing my Prosecco. It's going to be quite a celebration. Teresa caught something in my tone. She studied me over her wineglass, uncertainty flickering behind her confident facade. More Prosecco, Chiara? She offered too brightly. No thanks. I should get home to Jesse. His night routine is very important. Of course it is, dear. Teresa's smile was pure condescension. We all do what we can with what we're given. I gathered my purse, pausing at the door. You know, Teresa, you're right about one thing. The reunion will be memorable. I can't wait to hear your speech about family values. The drive home was quiet. In my mind, I could already see it. Teresa at the podium, preaching about legacy and success, while every phone in the audience lit up with the truth. Some things really are priceless. The timing has to be perfect, Kyle said, spreading documents across his desk. We were doing our final review before the reunion, now just 2 days away. Too early, and she'll have time to spin it. Too late, and people will have started leaving. During her speech, I confirmed, when she's talking about family values. Paige, who joined us for the strategy session, snorted. The irony is almost too perfect. Kyle pulled up a presentation on his laptop. I've organized everything chronologically. First slide shows the trust fund's original purpose, Jesse's care, then we follow the money. He clicked through images. Every withdrawal matched to a purchase. Every purchase matched to a social media post. It tells a story even Teresa can't explain away. What about legal backlash? Paige asked. Everything here is factual and documented. She had legal access, yes, but the pattern of spending proves intent. Kyle adjusted his glasses. Besides, the court of public opinion moves faster than any legal system. My phone lit up with a text from Valentina, Jesse's godmother. He had a great day at therapy, built a tower taller than me. I showed them the photo of Jesse's creation. This is what she stole from. Not just money, opportunity, progress, independence. Kyle studied the picture longer than necessary. The report's ready. I just need your final approval to set up the mass distribution. How exactly will it work, Wouch? I asked. I've collected phone numbers from the reunion RSVP list. When I send the signal, everyone gets a link simultaneously. The preview will show just enough to make them click. A photo of Teresa's Mercedes next to a withdrawal receipt from Jesse's account. Paige leaned forward. And you're sure about the timing? Giselle's recording the speech, remember? She's already bragged about her perfect viewing spot near the podium. When Teresa hits her peak sanctimony about family values, Kyle mimed pressing a button. Everyone's phone buzzes at once. I imagined the scene. Teresa in her designer outfit, preaching about success and tradition, while her carefully constructed image crumbled in real time. There's something else, Kyle said quietly. I found more accounts. Teresa's been doing this for years, borrowing from family members, manipulating joint accounts. Your son's trust fund was just her biggest target. Of course it was, I said bitterly, because who would believe the special needs mom over the family matriarch? That's why the report includes everything, every transaction, every victim. Once people start talking, Paige trailed off. She'll never recover, Kyle finished. A memory surfaced. Jesse's 4th birthday party. Teresa had shown up late, made a show of giving him an educational gift he couldn't use, then spent the entire time telling anyone who'd listen about Savannah's latest achievements. He'll never be like normal children, she'd whispered to another aunt. Kiara should really consider long-term care options. Do it, I said. Send everything. Kyle nodded, but his expression was serious. Once this goes live, there's no taking it back. The family will implode. Relationships will break. Are you ready for that? She broke those relationships the moment she decided my son's care fund was her personal ATM. There's one more thing. Paige pulled out some legal papers. I had these drawn up. New power of attorney documents, revoking Teresa's access to everything. We can have them notarized right after the reveal. Perfect, Kyle said. I'll witness the signatures myself. We spent the next hour reviewing the final details. Kyle had thought of everything. Backup distribution methods, screen recordings of Teresa's social media brags, even archived bank statements showing the systematic draining of the account. As I stood to leave, Kyle caught my arm. Ciara, what you're doing? It's not just revenge, it's justice. Is it? I asked quietly. Because sometimes it feels like I'm becoming just like her. No, Paige said firmly. She stole from a child because she could. You're exposing the truth because you must. There's a difference. My phone buzzed again. Another Facebook notification. Teresa posting about the upcoming reunion. So excited to share some wisdom about family values. Some people just understand the importance of legacy. Char blessed Barar family, first Bar proud mama. Saturday, I said, my resolve hardening. Let's show everyone exactly what those family values cost. Kyle nodded, already typing. I'll be in position by noon. When she takes the podium, we take her down, Paige finished. Driving home, I thought about legacy. Teresa had spent years building hers on stolen dreams and broken trust. On Saturday, that legacy would crumble, not with a whisper, but with hundreds of simultaneous notification pings. Jesse was waiting at the door when I got home, flapping his hands in excitement over a new puzzle he'd solved. I hugged him close, breathing in his familiar scent. Some legacies, I decided, were worth burning the world to protect. The reunion venue looked like something out of a Southern Living magazine. White chairs dotted the manicured lawn, fairy lights twinkled in the trees, and a small stage stood ready for Teresa's grand performance. You look ready for war, Valentina said, helping me adjust Jesse's bow tie. He was wearing his favorite blue suit, the one that didn't bother his sensory issues. I feel ready for war, I admitted, checking my phone. Kyle had texted his confirmation. In position, everything's set. Family members were already arriving, clustering in their usual groups. I caught snippets of conversation as we walked through. Did you see Teresa's new Mercedes? Savannah's doing so well at Oxford. Such a shame about Kiara's situation. Jesse clutched his stuffed lion tighter, sensing the tension. I squeezed his hand. It's okay, baby. Just a little longer. Giselle bustled past, phone at the ready. Perfect lighting for recording. Teresa's speech is going to be amazing. Wouldn't miss it for the world, I smiled. Greg, the family patriarch, took the stage first. His voice boomed across the lawn. Family is everything. Tradition is everything. And nobody understands that better than our own Teresa. I spotted Kyle setting up his laptop at a corner table, looking every bit the professional event photographer he was pretending to be. Paige stood nearby, legal documents hidden in her designer clutch. Then Teresa appeared, resplendent in an outfit that probably cost more than 3 months of Jesse's therapy. Savannah trailed behind her, texting rapidly on the latest iPhone, another trust fund purchase, according to Kyle's records. My dear family, Teresa began, her voice dripping sincerity. Today I want to talk about values, about legacy, about what it means to truly support each other. Jesse started humming softly, his way of self-soothing in crowds. A few relatives shot us disapproving looks. I held him closer. In this family, we believe in excellence, Teresa continued, in achievement, in making the most of what God gives us. My phone vibrated. Kyle, ready when you are. Look at my Savannah, Teresa gestured to her daughter. Top of her class at Oxford's summer program, a new Mercedes for her perfect SAT scores. This is what happens when we invest in potential. I caught Paige's eye across the lawn. She nodded slightly. Some might call it privilege, Teresa's voice swelled with false humility. But I call it good stewardship, using our resources wisely, supporting those who can truly benefit. I texted Kyle one word, now. Because family, Teresa raised her glass, means protecting our legacy. It means making hard choices about where to invest our... The air filled with notification sounds, hundreds of phones buzzing and pinging at once. Teresa faltered mid-sentence. Oh my God, someone gasped. Is this real? The trust fund. Jesse's money. Giselle, still filming, dropped her phone. Teresa, what did you do? I watched as faces turned from their screens to Teresa, then to me and Jesse, then back to their phones in horror. The timeline was devastating in its simplicity. Each withdrawal from Jesse's account matched perfectly with Teresa's social media posts about Savannah's luxuries. This is... Teresa's voice cracked. This is a mistake, a misunderstanding. The Mercedes was bought with Jesse's therapy money? Greg's wife stood up, face flushed with anger. Oxford summer program, paid for with a disabled child's care fund? Another aunt shook her head in disgust. Savannah stared at her phone, face draining of color. Mom, what did you do? Now wait just a minute. Teresa tried to regain control. I had legal access to that account, and let's be honest, that money was just sitting there. Jesse isn't going to... To what? I stood up, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent lawn. To college? To need care? To deserve a future? Jesse chose that moment to start building a tower with the dinner rolls on our table, completely oblivious to the drama unfolding around him. The simple innocence of it made Teresa's crime seem even more monstrous. I was going to pay it back, Teresa stammered. Once Savannah's career takes off. Save it, Paige stepped forward, legal documents in hand. We have a notary present. Time to sign away your access to everything. The facade finally cracked. Teresa's perfectly made-up face contorted with rage. That account should have never existed. She was irresponsible. Her son is... She stopped, suddenly aware that Giselle's phone was still recording. The family erupted into chaos, but all I could see was Jesse, carefully placing another roll on his tower, his stuffed lion watching guard. Some legacies, it turned out, destroyed themselves. The aftermath was like watching a hurricane in slow motion. Teresa stood frozen at the podium, her perfectly curated world crumbling around her in real time. "I can explain," she kept saying, but nobody was listening anymore. They were too busy scrolling through Kyle's meticulously documented report. "The Christmas fund, too?" Greg's wife exclaimed. "The one for the grandkids." "And Sarah's wedding savings," someone else added. "Remember how it mysteriously disappeared right before Savannah's Sweet 16? Savannah pushed through the crowd toward her mother. "Is it true? Did you really steal from Jessie?" "Darling, please." Teresa reached for her daughter. "Everything I did was for you, for your future." "By stealing from my cousin, a disabled child?" Savannah's voice cracked. "I didn't ask for any of this." Now, Greg stepped up to the podium. "Let's all calm down and—" "Calm down?" Paige's voice cut through the chaos. She was standing by Kyle's laptop, projecting screenshots onto the venue's screen. "Look at these timestamps. The day she drained the last $50,000 from Jessie's account, she posted about buying Savannah's Mercedes, called it a blessing from God." Teresa's face turned red. "You ungrateful little—" She lunged toward me, but several relatives held her back. "Sign the papers, Teresa," I said quietly, nodding to Paige. "Revoke your access to all family accounts. Now." "Or what?" she spat. "Or Giselle's video of your meltdown goes viral," Kyle spoke up, adjusting his glasses. "I'm sure your church group would love to see how you really feel about disabled children." Giselle, still recording, nodded enthusiastically. "This is better than any reality show." Teresa's hands shook as she signed the documents. Paige's notary friend stamped each page with professional efficiency. "My reputation," Teresa whispered. "You've destroyed everything." "No," I corrected her. "You destroyed everything. I just showed everyone the truth." Savannah stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. "I want to give it back. The car, the clothes, Oxford, all of it." "It's not your fault," I told her gently. "You didn't know, but I should have," she insisted, "all those times you and Jessie came to family events on the bus while I was driving a car bought with his therapy money." Jessie chose that moment to toddle over, proudly holding up his roll tower. He offered one to Savannah, a rare gesture of sharing that made my heart squeeze. "I'm so sorry," Savannah whispered, accepting the roll. "I'm so sorry." Teresa wasn't done. "You think this makes you better than me?" she snarled. "At least my daughter has a future. What's your son going to contribute to society? Who's going to remember his legacy?" The crowd gasped. Even Greg stepped back, shaking his head in disgust. "I think we're done here," Kyle said firmly, closing his laptop. "The banks have been notified. All your access has been revoked. And this video," Giselle waved her phone, "is going to get so many views. You know this is going to be viral by tomorrow morning, right?" Teresa's perfect mask finally shattered completely. "You planned this," she hissed at me. "You orchestrated this whole humiliation." "Actually," I smiled, "you did that all by yourself. I just provided the audience." "Mom," Savannah tugged at her arm, "let's go, please." But Teresa wasn't finished. She grabbed the microphone one last time. "You all think you're so righteous. I did what any good mother would do. I saw an opportunity to help my child succeed, and I took it. That money was just sitting there, wasting away on—" The mic cut off. Kyle stood by the soundboard, shaking his head. "Show's over, Teresa." The family watched in stunned silence as Teresa stormed off, her designer heels sinking into the manicured lawn. Savannah followed, shoulders slumped, already pulling up local car dealerships on her phone. "Well," Giselle announced to her camera, "I guess that's what real family values look like, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe." Jessie tugged at my sleeve, ready to go home. As we gathered our things, relatives approached one by one, some apologizing, some offering support, many just shaking their heads in disbelief. "You okay?" Kyle asked quietly, helping me pack Jessie's toys. "Ask me tomorrow," I replied. Paige joined us, waving the notarized documents. It's done. She can't touch any family money ever again. I watched Teresa's Mercedes peel out of the parking lot, probably for the last time. Jesse waved goodbye to his roll tower, completely unaware that he'd just witnessed the implosion of decades of family dynamics. Sometimes, I realized, karma doesn't just knock, it kicks down the door and brings receipts. The video went viral overnight, just as Giselle predicted. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since we got home from the reunion. Messages from relatives, old friends, even local news wanting comments. "Have you seen this?" Valentina texted, sending a link. Teresa's Mercedes was listed for sale on Facebook Marketplace, the description reading, "Selling due to family emergency. Price negotiable." Jesse sat at his therapy table, methodically sorting blocks by color. The morning light caught his curls, turning them golden. Some of his cousins had started a GoFundMe to help rebuild his trust fund. It had already passed $50,000. My laptop pinged with an email notification from Teresa. "You didn't have to destroy me." 5 words. No apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd done, just accusation wrapped in self-pity. Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. Kyle stood on my porch, holding a thick folder and wearing an expression that meant business. "The banks froze her accounts," he said, stepping inside. "All of them. They're launching their own investigation into financial misconduct." "Good morning to you, too," I smiled, pouring him coffee. "Sorry, He ran a hand through his hair. "The more I dig, the worse it gets. She didn't just steal from Jesse. She's been manipulating family funds for years, playing this twisted game of financial favoritism." Jesse wandered over, curious about our visitor. To my surprise, he offered Kyle one of his precious blocks, a blue one, his favorite color. "Thank you," Kyle said solemnly, accepting the block like it was made of gold. My phone buzzed again. "Savannah. Can we talk, please?" "What are you going to do?" Kyle asked, noticing my hesitation. "She's just a kid," I sighed. "She didn't ask for any of this." I texted back, "Come over." 20 minutes later, Savannah arrived in an Uber, looking nothing like the polished princess from the reunion. Her makeup was gone, her designer clothes replaced with simple jeans and a t-shirt. "I sold the car," she said without preamble, "and I withdrew from Oxford. The refund should process next week." "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." She watched Jesse playing with his blocks. "Mom's been calling nonstop, trying to justify everything. But I keep thinking about what she said, about Jesse not having a future worth investing in." Kyle quietly excused himself, leaving us to talk. But before he left, Jesse surprised us all by giving him a quick, spontaneous hug, something he rarely did with anyone outside our immediate circle. "That's new," I said, watching Kyle's face soften with emotion. "Maybe he knows who helped protect his future," Savannah suggested. We sat in comfortable silence, watching Jesse build increasingly complex patterns with his blocks, each structure more intricate than the last, following rules only he understood. "He's amazing," Savannah said softly. "I never really saw it before, but he is." My phone lit up with another notification. Giselle's video had passed 1 million views. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive, many from parents of special needs children sharing similar stories of family discrimination. "Mom's whole life was about appearances," Savannah continued. "Perfect daughter, perfect car, perfect social media presence. But this?" She gestured to Jesse, happily lost in his own world of patterns and possibilities. "This is real." "What will you do now?" I asked. "Community college, local, get a degree in special education, maybe." She smiled slightly. "Turns out there are more important things than Oxford summer programs." Jesse finished his latest creation, a spiral of blocks that looked almost like DNA strands. He stepped back, flapping his hands in excitement. "That's beautiful, baby," I said. He beamed, then started gathering blocks for his next project. "Can I—" Savannah hesitated. "Can I come visit sometimes? Get to know my cousin properly?" Before I could answer, Jesse did something extraordinary. He walked over to Savannah and carefully placed a blue block in her hand, the same gesture he'd made with Kyle. I think that's a yes, I smiled, watching tears well up in Savannah's eyes. My laptop pinged again, another email from Teresa. You'll regret this. Family should protect family. I looked at Jesse, now teaching Savannah his block sorting system, at the GoFundMe notifications still flooding my phone, at Kyle's forgotten coffee cup on my counter. Delete, I clicked, then closed my laptop. Some things weren't worth my energy anymore. Let Teresa rage into the void. Let her learn what it means to lose everything she thought she was entitled to. I had more important things to focus on. My son's future, rebuilt not just with money, but with understanding. New allies who saw his worth without question. And the quiet satisfaction of knowing that sometimes justice wears heels, carries spreadsheets, and comes with receipts. Jesse's tower grew higher, each block placed with perfect precision. His future, I realized, had never been more secure.
The first sign that something was wrong came when my laptop wouldn't boot up. Just a black screen, no matter how many times I pressed the power button. My heart rate quickened. 5 years of research, countless sleepless nights, all stored on that hard drive. I'm Nina, and until that moment, I thought I was 3 weeks away from defending my PhD thesis on corporate ethics and whistleblower protection. Now I was staring at a dead screen, trying not to panic. "Percy!" I called out to my husband. "Can you come look at this?" He appeared in the doorway of our home office, coffee mug in hand. "What's wrong, babe?" "My laptop won't start. Nothing's happening." Percy set his mug down and leaned over my shoulder, his cologne too strong this early in the morning. He pressed a few keys, tried the power button again. "Did you back everything up?" "Of course I did. Multiple places." I grabbed my external hard drive from the desk drawer, hands trembling slightly as I connected it to Percy's computer. Empty. Completely empty. "That's impossible," I whispered. "Everything was there yesterday." "What about the cloud backup?" Percy suggested, his voice oddly calm. I logged into my cloud storage. Access denied. I tried again, and again. Nothing. "I need to call tech support." I reached for my phone just as the doorbell rang. "That'll be Mother," Percy said. "She's joining us for breakfast, remember?" Regina swept into the house like a cold front, her designer handbag swinging from her arm. "Nina, darling, you look dreadful. Trouble sleeping?" "My thesis," I started to explain, but she cut me off. "Oh, all that corporate whistleblower nonsense? Perhaps it's a sign you should focus on more traditional pursuits." She smiled, her lipstick perfect as always. "Percy tells me you've been talking about starting a family." I ignored her, dialing tech support with shaking fingers. 1 hour turned into 3. No explanation, no recovery possible. 5 years of work, gone without a trace. "These things happen, sweetheart," Percy said, rubbing my shoulders. "Maybe Mother's right. Maybe it's time to consider other options." I barely heard him. My mind was racing through every backup, every safety measure I'd put in place. None of this made sense. That evening, I sat in the dark office, staring at my useless laptop. Percy and Regina's voices drifted up from the kitchen below, where they thought I couldn't hear them. "She'll get over it," Regina was saying. "It's better this way. That research could have caused problems for the Foundation. We've nipped her ambition in the bud, just like we discussed." Percy's response was softer, but clear enough. "I know, Mother. You were right, as always." The world stopped spinning for a moment. My husband's words echoed in my head, each syllable a betrayal. 5 years of research on corporate whistleblower protection. Research that could have exposed practices at the Harrison Foundation, his family's company. Of course, I sat there, perfectly still, as their voices continued below. Every touch, every comforting word from Percy over the past few hours played back in my mind with new meaning. The too calm reaction, the gentle suggestions to give up. They thought they'd broken me, destroyed my work, my dreams, my future. I stood up slowly, my body moving on autopilot. In the bedroom, I pulled out my overnight bag, the one Percy never noticed I kept packed after watching my mother escape my father years ago. I took only what I could carry quietly, some clothes, my passport, the emergency cash I'd hidden inside an old textbook. In the kitchen, their voices continued, discussing my future as if it belonged to them. Regina's laugh floated up the stairs, the sound of a victory she thought she'd won. I wrote a single line on a post-it note. "I know what you did." Stuck it to Percy's pillow. The night air was cool on my face as I slipped out the back door. My car was parked around the corner, keys in my pocket. They wouldn't hear me leave. Tomorrow, they'd wake up to find me gone. Percy would probably call my friends, my department, maybe even the police. But I'd learned enough about disappearing from my research. I knew how to vanish, how to rebuild, how to wait. They thought they'd destroyed my work on corporate whistleblowers and ethics. Instead, they'd given me the perfect case study. I just needed time to build it. I started the car, my hands steady now. In the rearview mirror, our house, Percy's house, grew smaller and darker. I didn't look back again. They wanted to nip my ambition in the bud. They should have remembered that some plants grow stronger when cut. 3 months after disappearing, I sat in a cramped office at Metropolitan University, staring at a stack of research assistant applications. My new boss, Dr. Fatima Rodriguez, tapped her pen against her desk. "Your credentials are almost too good," she said, studying my carefully edited CV. "Why would someone with your publication record want an entry-level position?" I'd practiced this answer. Personal reasons required a fresh start. I'm rebuilding from scratch. Fatima leaned back, her dark eyes sharp. "And the gap in your employment history?" "Family emergency. Not technically a lie. I had to step away from academia temporarily." She nodded slowly. "Your reference from Dr. Martinez is glowing. But..." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I notice you've published under different names." My heart skipped. I'd used variations of my name to make it harder for Percy and Regina to track my work. "Professional evolution," I said smoothly, testing different academic identities. "Fair enough." Fatima stood up, extending her hand. "Welcome aboard, Nina." That handshake marked the beginning of my resurrection. Over the next few months, I threw myself into work, helping Fatima with her research, while secretly rebuilding my own thesis from memory. One evening, as we were reviewing data, Fatima broke our comfortable silence. "Someone's been asking about you." My fingers froze over the keyboard. "Who?" "A man named Percy. Says he's your husband." "Ex-husband," I corrected, my voice steady. "We're not in contact." Fatima watched me carefully. "He seemed worried. He's an excellent actor." I met her gaze. "Please don't tell him where I am. Already told him I'd never heard of you." She smiled. "Whatever you're running from, your secret's safe with me." That night, I worked later than usual, piecing together my research on corporate whistleblower protection. My original thesis had focused on how companies silence internal critics. Now, I had personal experience to draw from. "You're not the first," Viviana, one of our graduate students, said one day over coffee. "My sister's research on gender discrimination got accidentally deleted right before submission." "What did she do?" "Started over, published under a pseudonym. Now she's tenured at Yale." Viviana grinned. "Sometimes the best revenge is success." Those words became my mantra. Every morning, I arrived before sunrise, rebuilding my work piece by piece. Every evening, I scanned academic journals, looking for patterns of sabotage against female researchers. 6 months in, Fatima caught me working on my thesis late one night. "I wondered when you'd start again," she said, pulling up a chair. "Want to tell me the real story?" I hesitated, then told her everything. The sabotage, Percy's betrayal, Regina's orchestration. "Those bastards," Fatima muttered when I finished. "You know what this means? Your new thesis needs to be twice as powerful." She helped me restructure my research, expanding its scope beyond individual whistleblowers to systematic suppression of academic work. We worked weekends, holidays, early mornings. "Your ex-husband's family foundation keeps coming up in my research," Fatima said one day, showing me a series of news articles. Multiple cases of suspicious project cancellations, all targeting women researchers. "Add it to the case studies," I said, my voice cold. "But don't use my name." A year after starting over, I submitted my new thesis under the name N.R. Richardson. 2 months later, it passed peer review with distinction. "Congratulations, Dr. Richardson," Fatima said, handing me the acceptance letter. "Ready to shake up the academic world?" I smiled, thinking of Regina's face when she dismissed my corporate whistleblower nonsense. "The funny thing is," I told Fatima, "they thought they were protecting their family's reputation. Instead, they gave me the perfect case study in corporate corruption." "What now?" "Now?" I looked at the growing pile of interview requests from ethics journals. "Now we build something they can't delete." That evening, I received an email from an anonymous employee at the Harrison Foundation seeking consultation on internal ethical concerns. They had no idea who I was. They'd found my work through academic channels. I stared at the email for a long time, thinking about karma and timing. Then I typed a simple response. "I'd be happy to help. Let's schedule a meeting." Fatima found me still at my desk, smiling at the screen. "Good news?" she asked. "The best kind," I replied. "The kind that takes patience." She squeezed my shoulder. "Whatever you're planning, I want front row seats." I closed my laptop, thinking of Regina's smug smile, Percy's weak excuses. They thought they'd silenced me. Instead, they'd given me a voice that would echo through every corporate boardroom in the country. "Trust me," I said. "The show's just beginning. Dr. Richardson, your next interview is here." My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. 2 years had transformed me from a research assistant to a sought-after expert with my own consulting firm. "Send them in," I replied, adjusting my blazer. The door opened, and a young woman entered, clutching a laptop to her chest. "I'm Viviana," she said, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "From the Harrison Foundation." My pulse quickened, but my face remained neutral. "Please sit. Tell me what brings you here." She opened her laptop, hands shaking slightly. "I've been documenting irregularities, financial decisions that don't add up, projects suddenly cancelled without explanation." "And all led by women?" I asked quietly. Viviana's eyes widened. "How did you know?" "Pattern recognition. It's what I do." I leaned forward. "Show me." For the next hour, she walked me through spreadsheets, emails, and meeting minutes. Regina's fingerprints were all over them, the same tactical destruction she'd used on me, repeated dozens of times. "The board's calling an emergency meeting next week," Viviana said. "They're bringing in outside consultants, but Mrs. Harrison, she has ways of making problems disappear." I smiled. Not this time. Later that day, Fatima burst into my office waving a financial magazine. "Have you seen this? Harrison Foundation under investigation. Ethics expert N.R. Richardson to lead internal audit." "The press works fast," I said, taking the magazine. "Are you ready for this? To face them?" I traced my finger over the headline. "I've been ready for 2 years." The next week, I stood in the Harrison Foundation's lobby, surrounded by marble and old money. My heels clicked against the floor as I approached the reception desk. Dr. Richardson for the board meeting. The boardroom was all dark wood and leather chairs. Board members filed in, followed by their legal team. I arranged my papers, waiting. At exactly 9 Saug, the door opened again. Percy entered first, his face lined with worry. Then Regina, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, radiating authority. They took their seats without looking at me. "Let's begin," the board chairman Eric announced. "Dr. Richardson, please share your preliminary findings." I stood, clicking to my first slide. The Harrison Foundation shows a systematic pattern of project termination and fund reallocation, specifically targeting female-led initiatives. Regina's head snapped up. I continued, my voice steady. Over the past 5 years, 23 projects were cancelled without cause, all led by women, all showing promising results before sudden technical failures or data loss. Percy shifted uncomfortably. I advanced to the next slide. Most recently, the Foundation cancelled Dr. Sarah Palmer's medical research, citing server crashes. Dr. Emma Wright's environmental study, all backups mysteriously corrupted. Professor Helen Torres's economic analysis, data irretrievably lost. "This is circumstantial," Regina interrupted, her voice sharp. "You can't prove—" "Actually," I said, meeting her eyes for the first time, "I can. Because you used the same method to destroy my PhD thesis 2 years ago." The room went silent. Percy's face drained of colour. Regina's perfectly manicured hands gripped the table. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said coldly. "Nina?" Percy whispered. I ignored him, addressing the board. "The Foundation's ethical breaches extend beyond project cancellation. I have evidence of systematic discrimination, fund misappropriation, and deliberate sabotage." "This is absurd," Regina snapped. "Who are you really?" I smiled, the same smile she'd given me the morning my laptop died. "I'm the whistleblower you failed to silence, the researcher you couldn't erase, and now I'm the consultant who will decide the Foundation's fate." Eric cleared his throat. "Dr. Richardson's reputation in corporate ethics is unimpeachable. If she has evidence—" "She's Percy's ex-wife." Regina stood, her chair scraping back. "This is a personal vendetta. My relationship to your family is irrelevant," I said calmly. "The evidence speaks for itself. Shall we continue with the presentation?" Percy started to speak, but I cut him off. "Save it for the deposition." The board meeting lasted 3 more hours. I presented document after document, each one a nail in Regina's coffin. When I finished, Eric called for an immediate executive session. As security escorted Regina and Percy out, she turned to me. "You'll regret this." "No," I said softly. "I won't." Later that night, Fatima called. "I just saw the news. Harrison Foundation faces ethics investigation." "How did it feel?" I looked out my office window at the city lights. Like watching a house of cards start to fall. And Percy looked exactly like someone watching his world crumble. I paused, just like I did 2 years ago. "Karma's a beautiful thing," Fatima said. I thought of the documents still in my briefcase, the ones I hadn't shown yet. "Oh, this isn't karma," I replied. "This is just the beginning." The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 8 a.m. sharp. I arrived early, settling into my seat as dawn broke over the city skyline. One by one, board members filed in, their faces grim. Eric, the chairman, cleared his throat. "Before we begin, Mrs. Harrison has requested to address the board." "Objection noted," I said coolly, arranging my papers. "But as lead investigator, I need to present my findings first." The door burst open. Regina swept in, Percy and his brother Trent trailing behind her like ducklings. She stopped dead when she saw me, her perfectly composed facade cracking for just a moment. "Have we met before?" she asked, her voice sharp with suspicion. I smiled, the same practiced smile she'd given me countless times at family dinners. "No, but you will remember me soon." Percy grabbed the back of a chair, his knuckles white. Trent looked between us, confusion evident on his face. "Dr. Richardson," Eric intervened. "Please proceed." I stood, clicking to my first slide. Over the past decade, the Harrison Foundation has systematically undermined or destroyed the careers of at least 37 women in positions of influence. Regina's laugh was brittle. "This again? We addressed these baseless accusations." "I have emails," I cut in smoothly. "Specifically, yours to the IT department. Shall I read them?" The color drained from her face. I continued, my voice steady. "March 15th, 2 years ago. Ensure all backups fail. Leave no trace. June 23rd. Another troublesome female academic. Handle it like the others." "Those emails are confidential," Trent protested. "Stolen emails," Regina added, her voice shaking with rage. "Actually," a new voice spoke up, "they were legally obtained through whistleblower protocols." Viviana stood in the doorway, clutching a thick folder. "I've been documenting everything for the past year." Percy jumped to his feet. "You can't trust her. She's—" "Your ex-wife?" Viviana finished. "I know. That's why I reached out to her specifically." The boardroom erupted in chaos. Regina lunged for the presentation remote, but I held it out of reach. "Shall I continue?" I asked the board. "I have quite a collection, including some interesting correspondence about my own thesis." "Nina," Percy pleaded, "we can talk about this privately." I turned to him, letting him see the full weight of my contempt. "Like we talked about it when you and your mother destroyed 5 years of my work, or when you suggested I focus on starting a family instead of my career." "I was trying to protect you," he stammered. "No," I corrected him, "you were protecting her." I gestured to Regina, who had sunk into her chair, her perfect posture finally breaking. "And now you can both watch everything you built crumble, just like I did." Eric raised his hands for silence. "Dr. Richardson, what are your recommendations?" I clicked to my final slide. Complete restructuring, new board oversight, full transparency audits, and— I paused, savoring the moment. Regina's immediate resignation. "You can't do this," Regina whispered. "I already have." I turned to the board. "You have 24 hours to accept these terms, or I take my evidence to the press." Trent stood up. "This is a family matter. We should discuss this privately." "That's exactly the problem," I replied. "This foundation stopped being a family matter the moment it started destroying careers to protect your fragile male egos." "Nina," Percy tried again. I held up my hand. "Dr. Richardson," I corrected him. "And I'm not finished. Viviana, please distribute the full reports." She moved around the table, handing out thick folders. Regina's hands shook as she opened hers. "Page 3 is particularly interesting," I noted. "The pattern of targeting women who might overshadow your sons, the systematic destruction of research that could expose Foundation misconduct." "Mother?" Trent's voice cracked as he read. "Is this true?" Regina's silence was answer enough. "The board will recess for 1 hour," Eric announced. "Dr. Richardson, please wait in my office." As I gathered my materials, Regina finally found her voice. "You've been planning this for 2 years." "No," I replied, meeting her eyes. "I've been building something you couldn't destroy. The revenge was just a bonus." In Eric's office, Fatima was waiting. "How did it go?" I sank into a chair, finally letting my hands shake. "Exactly as planned." "And Percy?" "Looked exactly like someone watching their mother's kingdom fall." I smiled. Turns out karma doesn't need our help. It just needs good documentation. Through the window, I could see Regina and Percy in heated discussion on the street below. Their gestures were wild, desperate. For the first time in 2 years, I felt something close to peace. "What now?" Fatima asked. I touched the window, watching Regina's world implode. Now we wait for the board's decision. But really, they only have one choice. "Karma's a patient teacher," Fatima mused. "Yes," I agreed, "and I was an excellent student." The Foundation's offices buzzed with nervous energy as I conducted my audit. Employees whispered in corners, falling silent when I passed. My temporary office, once Regina's private conference room, still held traces of her expensive perfume. Viviana knocked and entered, carrying a stack of files. "You need to see these," she said, spreading documents across the desk. Regina didn't just target academics. She systematically removed any woman who showed leadership potential within the Foundation. I picked up a personnel file. "Sarah from accounting?" Forced out after questioning financial discrepancies, Regina claimed she was emotionally unstable. "And Maria in grant management?" Computer crash erased all her files right before a major presentation. Regina suggested she was careless with data. A knock at the door interrupted us. Percy stood in the doorway, looking deflated in his rumpled suit. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Alone?" I nodded to Viviana, who gathered her files and left, closing the door behind her. Percy sat heavily in the visitor's chair. "You've really thought of everything, haven't you?" "I learned from the best," I replied. "Your mother taught me the importance of thorough documentation." "Nina, I know I hurt you." "Dr. Richardson," I corrected him. "And you didn't hurt me. You tried to destroy me." He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made my chest ache. "I was weak. Mother said your research would damage the Foundation's reputation. She convinced me it was for your own good. And now?" I gestured to the files spread across the desk. "Was it for their own good too?" "I didn't know about the others," he protested. "You didn't want to know." I leaned forward. "Tell me, Percy, did you ever actually read my thesis, the one you helped destroy?" He looked away. "Parts of it." "Then you missed the central argument. Whistleblowers don't emerge from nowhere. They're created by systems that value power over ethics. Sound familiar?" A commotion outside drew our attention. Regina's voice carried through the door, sharp with anger. "I don't care what she says. I built this foundation." I stood, opening the door to find Regina facing off with Trent in the hallway. "Mother," Trent was saying, "the evidence is overwhelming. We have to cooperate." "Evidence?" Regina spat. "Stolen emails and disgruntled employees? I was protecting our legacy. By destroying careers?" I stepped into the hallway. "By targeting women who threatened your son's fragile superiority?" Regina whirled to face me. "You have no idea what it takes to protect a family's reputation in this world." "Actually, I do." I pulled out my phone, playing a recording. Regina's voice filled the hallway. "Make sure nothing remains. No backups, no traces. That ambitious little wife of Percy's needs to learn her place." The color drained from her face. "Where did you get that?" "Your own security system. Turns out your IT department keeps excellent records when properly motivated." Trent grabbed Regina's arm as she swayed. "Mother, enough. It's over." "It's not over," she hissed. "I still have friends on the board." "Had," I corrected her. "Before I showed them the offshore accounts." Percy stepped forward. "What offshore accounts?" I turned to him. "The ones your mother used to hide Foundation money. Did you really think I'd stop at just the ethics violations?" Regina's composure finally cracked. "You vindictive little—" "Careful," I cut her off. "Everything in this building is still being recorded." Trent pulled out his phone, checking a message. The board's made their decision. They're calling us in. As we walked to the boardroom, I felt Regina's eyes boring into my back. 2 years ago, I'd fled this building in tears. Now I walked its halls with purpose, my heels clicking against marble like a countdown. Eric waited at the head of the conference table, his face grave. Mrs. Harrison, in light of the evidence presented, the board has voted unanimously. You are to resign, effective immediately. And if I refuse? Regina's voice shook. Then Dr. Richardson releases everything to the press. Eric slid a document across the table. Your resignation letter is already prepared. Regina stared at the paper, her perfectly manicured hands trembling. This is my foundation. Was, I corrected softly. Now it's a case study in corporate accountability. She picked up the pen, her signature sharp and angry across the page. The board has appointed Trent as interim CEO, Eric continued, with Dr. Richardson's firm overseeing the restructuring. Regina stood abruptly, her chair scraping back. You'll regret this, all of you. I watched her storm out, Percy trailing behind her like always. Trent remained, looking lost. What happens now? He asked. I gathered my files, thinking of all the women whose careers Regina had tried to destroy. Now we rebuild. The right way this time. The satisfaction wasn't in Regina's fall. It was in knowing that from these ashes, something better would rise. The media circus outside the Harrison Foundation grew larger each day. I watched from my office window as reporters camped out, hoping to catch Regina leaving the building one last time. Dr. Richardson, Viviana appeared at my door. The restructuring committee is ready. The conference room was packed with board members, executives, and legal counsel. Trent sat at the head of the table, looking uncomfortable in his new role as interim CEO. Let's begin, I said, distributing folders. Our first priority is reaching out to every woman whose career was impacted by the Foundation's actions. That could open us up to lawsuits, one of the lawyers protested. It already has. I clicked to my first slide. 3 class actions are being prepared, but we can get ahead of this with a comprehensive restitution program. The door burst open. Regina strode in, Percy at her heels. This is still my foundation, she announced, and I won't let you destroy it with this witch hunt. Mother, Trent warned, you're not supposed to be here. I'm here as a shareholder, she snapped. And I demand— You're not in a position to demand anything, I interrupted, pulling out a USB drive. Unless you'd like me to play the security footage from last week? The room fell silent. Regina's face went pale. What security footage? Eric asked. I connected the drive to the projector. Regina's voice filled the room. Shred everything. I don't care if it's illegal. Nothing can link us to those project cancellations. Turn it off, Percy pleaded. There's more, I said calmly. Hours of footage, years of emails. Should I continue? Regina gripped the back of a chair. You're bluffing. Like you bluffed about my thesis backups? I smiled. I learned from the best, remember? The board has already voted, Eric said firmly. Regina, if you don't leave voluntarily, security will escort you out. This is what you wanted, isn't it? Regina turned to me, her voice cracking. To humiliate me. No. I stood, facing her directly. I wanted justice, not just for me, but for every woman you tried to destroy. The humiliation is just a bonus. Percy stepped forward. Nina, please, there must be some way to— To what? I cut him off. To protect her again? That's all you've ever done, Percy. Protected her right to hurt people. Trent cleared his throat. Security is on their way. Regina straightened her spine, smoothing her jacket. You think you've won? This foundation will collapse without me. Actually, Viviana spoke up, Our preliminary audit shows the Foundation's reputation has already improved since your resignation. 2 security guards appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Harrison, one said quietly, please come with us. Regina's exit was everything I'd imagined and nothing I'd expected. She walked out with her head high, but her hands shook. Percy followed her to the elevator, then turned back. Can we talk? He asked. Just 5 minutes. I glanced at my watch. You have 3. When the room cleared, he sat heavily across from me. I've been a coward. Yes. I should have protected you. Yes. I'm sorry. I looked at him. Really looked at him. The man I'd loved, who'd chosen his mother's approval over his wife's dreams. Sorry doesn't rebuild careers, Percy. Sorry doesn't give back lost years. What can I do? He asked. Step down, I said simply. Let Trent lead the restructuring. Go find out who you are without your mother's influence. His face crumpled. And us? There is no us. There hasn't been since the morning you watched me cry over my destroyed thesis and pretended to care. A knock at the door saved him from responding. Fatima entered, carrying a newspaper. You're going to want to see this, she said, spreading it on the table. The headline read, Harrison Foundation whistleblower, revealed, former family member exposes years of corruption. They found out who you are, Percy whispered. I picked up the paper, scanning the article. No, I said. Viviana leaked it, with my permission. Why? Because hiding implies shame. I stood, gathering my files. And I'm not ashamed of surviving what your family tried to do to me. Percy stayed seated, looking lost. What happens now? Now? I walked to the door. Now I do what I always wanted to do, protect whistleblowers and expose corruption. Your mother just gave me the perfect case study. As I left him there, I felt lighter. The revenge I'd planned for 2 years was complete, but it wasn't the victory that satisfied me. It was the knowledge that somewhere a woman was reading this story and realizing she wasn't alone. That sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's reconstruction. The morning of Regina's public resignation, the press packed the Foundation's lobby like sardines. I stood at the back, watching through the sea of cameras as she approached the podium. After careful consideration, she read from her prepared statement, I am stepping down as director of the Harrison Foundation. Camera shutters clicked rapidly. Regina's hands trembled slightly, but her voice remained steady. My successor, Trent, will oversee the Foundation's new direction, focusing on transparency and ethical leadership. A reporter shouted from the crowd, Mrs. Harrison, what about the allegations of systematic discrimination? Regina's mask slipped for just a moment. Her eyes found mine in the crowd, and I saw raw hatred there. No questions at this time, the PR representative interrupted. As Regina turned to leave, another voice rang out. Dr. Richardson, is it true you were once married to Percy Harrison? The room froze. Regina stopped mid-stride. Every camera swiveled toward me. Before I could respond, Fatima appeared at my elbow. Dr. Richardson will be conducting a separate press conference this afternoon. We slipped through a side door as the reporters erupted with questions. In the quiet of the emergency stairwell, Fatima grabbed my arm. Are you ready for this? Once you go public, everything changes. It already has. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Percy, a text from Trent asking to meet. Up in my office, Viviana waited with a stack of newspapers. You're trending on social media. Women are coming forward with their own stories of corporate sabotage. Good. I sat at my desk, opening my laptop. That's exactly what we wanted. Nina. Percy stood in the doorway, looking haggard. Mother's threatening to sue for defamation. Let her, I replied, not looking up. Truth is an absolute defense. She's not well. This has broken her. No. I finally met his eyes. This has exposed her. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. A message from an international ethics consortium. They wanted me to lead their corporate accountability division. You're leaving? Percy asked, reading over my shoulder. The Foundation isn't the only organization that needs cleaning up. I showed him the offer. They want me to develop global whistleblower protection protocols. Based on what happened here? Based on what happens everywhere. I stood, gathering my coat. The press conference starts in an hour. What will you say? The truth. All of it. The Foundation's press room was standing room only. I took my place at the podium, cameras flashing like lightning. My name is Dr. Nina Richardson. 2 years ago, my doctoral thesis on corporate whistleblower protection was deliberately destroyed by Regina Harrison and her son Percy, my then husband. The room erupted. In the back, I saw Regina push through the door, her face white with fury. That destruction led me to discover a pattern of similar actions against women throughout the Foundation's history. Today, I'm announcing the creation of the Corporate Accountability Project, funded by the restructured Harrison Foundation. This is absurd! Regina's voice cut through the chaos. She's lying. Actually, Trent stepped forward from the side of the room. We have proof of everything. Mother, please sit down. You too? She whispered. My own son? Yes, he said firmly, because you taught us loyalty to family, but not to truth. A reporter raised her hand. Dr. Richardson, what would you say to other women facing similar situations? I looked directly into the nearest camera. Document everything. Build quietly. And remember, sometimes the people trying to break you are actually making you stronger. And to Regina Harrison, another called out. I smiled, thinking of that morning 2 years ago when I'd lost everything. Thank you for the case study. The press conference lasted another hour. When it finally ended, Fatima found me in my office, packing up my things. The consortium wants you to start next month, she said, in Geneva. Perfect timing. I closed my laptop for the last time. The Foundation's in good hands with Trent and Viviana. And Regina. Last I heard, she's retreated to her summer house. Percy's with her, of course. Fatima smiled. Some people never change. No, I agreed, but some of us do. As we left the building, a final reporter caught up with us. Dr. Richardson, one last question. Was this about revenge? I thought about Regina's face as her empire crumbled, about Percy's weak apologies, about all the women who'd lost their dreams to protect the Harrison legacy. No, I said finally. This was about justice. Revenge is what small people do. Justice is what changes the world. The evening news would lead with Regina's resignation, but the real story was in the hundreds of emails flooding my inbox, women sharing their stories, asking for help, ready to fight back. I'd gone from being a victim to becoming a symbol. But more importantly, I'd become exactly what Regina had feared most. A woman too powerful to silence. The coastal villa's silence was broken only by waves crashing against the shore. I sat at my desk, watching the footage from yesterday's press conference play on my laptop. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing with notifications since. A knock at the door pulled me from my thoughts. Fatima entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. The journalist's footage arrived, she said, setting a USB drive on my desk. The one who asked if you were Percy's ex-wife. Have you watched it? She nodded. It's powerful. The question is, do we use it? I plugged in the drive. The video showed Regina's face the moment my identity was revealed. The mask cracking, the raw hatred emerging. Then Percy, looking lost and small. Finally me, standing calm in the chaos. The consortium called again, Fatima continued. They want to know if you'll make a statement about your personal connection to the case. Send them this. I pulled out an envelope, sealed with the university's logo. Inside was my reinstated dissertation, the one Regina had tried to destroy, now published and acclaimed. My phone buzzed. A text from Viviana. Regina's trying to call an emergency shareholder meeting. Trent shut it down. She never learns, Fatima mused, reading over my shoulder. No, I agreed, but others will. Another buzz, this time from Percy. Can we talk? One last time? I stepped onto the villa's balcony, the sea breeze carrying away the lingering weight of the past 2 years. Dialed his number. Nina? His voice was rough, tired. What do you want, Percy? Mother's not well. The doctors say it's the stress. Stop. I cut him off. You're still trying to make me responsible for her choices. Silence stretched between us. You're right, he finally said. I keep thinking about that morning, when your laptop wouldn't start. I could have stopped her. Yes, I agreed. You could have. The foundation board wants me to resign too. Good. Is that what you wanted? To destroy us completely? I watched a seabird dive into the waves, emerge triumphant with its prey. No, Percy. I wanted to build something stronger than your mother's fear. Something that would help others survive what we did to them. We? Yes, we. You weren't just a bystander. You chose your side. More silence. The funny thing about revenge, I continued, is that it doesn't feel like I thought it would. I'm not celebrating Regina's fall or your resignation. I'm celebrating every woman who's contacted me saying she finally feels brave enough to speak up. You've changed, he said softly. No, I've become who I always was. Your mother just helped me realize it. After hanging up, I returned to my desk, opened my laptop to the blank document I'd been avoiding. Dear Ethics Review Board, I typed. I'm writing to accept the position of Global Director of Whistleblower Protection, with one condition. The first case must be a full investigation of the Harrison Foundation's historical practices. Fatima read over my shoulder. That's going to open a lot of old wounds. Good, I replied. Some wounds need to be opened to heal properly. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Trent. Board approved the new Whistleblower Protection Program. We're naming it after you. I smiled, thinking of Regina reading that announcement. What now? Fatima asked. I walked to the balcony again, watching the sun set over the ocean. Now we do what I should have done 2 years ago. We help others fight back. Properly, legally, and publicly. And Regina gets to live with knowing that every time someone stands up to corporate bullying, they'll use the program that bears my name. Every time a whistleblower succeeds, they'll remember how her actions built this. Poetic justice, Fatima said. No, I corrected her. Just justice. I returned to my desk, picked up my original thesis, the one Regina had tried to destroy, opened to the dedication page and wrote, To every woman who was told to be quiet, stay small, know her place. Your voice matters, your work matters, and no one can delete your worth. Signed it simply. Dr. Nina Richardson. Tomorrow, I'd send copies to every university library in the country. Let Regina try to destroy that. But tonight, I walked along the shore, letting the waves wash away the last traces of the woman who'd fled in the night 2 years ago. She'd been running from destruction. I was walking toward construction. The funny thing about revenge, they thought it would break me, but it built me. And now, it would build others too. That was better than any revenge I could have planned.
The moment Aunt Regina announced my layoff to the entire baby shower, I knew exactly how this afternoon would end. Not with tears, not with a scene, but with the satisfying click of a phone recording being stopped. My name is Layla, and I've spent the last 28 years being the family disappointment. Today, watching my aunt's perfectly lined lips curl into a smirk as she delivered the news of my professional failure to a room full of pastel-dressed women. I didn't flinch. I'd been expecting something like this since I walked through the door of her McMansion, carrying a gift I couldn't afford. "Oh, didn't everyone hear?" Regina's voice carried across the decorated living room. "Our Layla was let go from her little design job. Such a shame, really." The room grew quiet, except for the clink of champagne glasses and my stepsister Mila's theatrical gasp. "Maybe she can babysit for Bridget when the baby comes," Mila chimed in, her voice dripping with fake concern. "You know, since she'll have so much free time now." Polite laughter rippled through the room. I kept my face neutral, took a sip of sparkling water, and watched my cousin Bridget, the mom-to-be, pretend to look sympathetic while practically glowing with satisfaction. "Actually," I said, my voice steady, "I'd love to hear more about your charity work, Aunt Regina. The one you were telling me about last month, when you called asking for that loan?" Regina's smile flickered for just a second. "Oh, darling, what an imagination you have." "Layla's always been dramatic," my stepmother, Eva, cut in, patting my arm with cold fingers. "Remember when she refused to be in the family Christmas card last year?" I did remember. I also remembered the text message Eva sent afterward. "Your father and I think it's best if you skip the holiday dinner too. We wouldn't want any tension." The party continued around me like a pastel tornado of gift opening and forced enthusiasm. Bridget cooed over each onesie and baby blanket, while Regina orchestrated the whole show, making sure everyone could see just how generous and loving our family was. "Open mine next," Mila practically squealed, handing over an enormous box wrapped in designer paper. "Oh my God," Bridget gasped, pulling out a ridiculously expensive baby carrier. "This must have cost a fortune." "Only the best for my favourite cousin," Mila said, shooting me a look. I glanced down at my own modest gift, still sitting unopened in the corner. The handmade mobile had taken me weeks to design and craft, back when I still had access to my office's laser cutter. Now it just looked sad and small compared to everyone else's expensive offerings. "Layla, sweetie," Regina called out. "Didn't you bring something for the baby?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A notification from my banking app. Regina's loan request from last month was still pending. The same loan she now pretended never happened. I smiled. "Of course I did, Aunt Regina. But maybe we should wait to open it. After all, we wouldn't want to overshadow Mila's generous gift. Speaking of generosity, how is that investment partnership with Quincy working out?" Regina's face went white. My stepmother's head snapped up. Even Bridget stopped mid-unwrap. "I don't know what you're talking about," Regina said quickly. "Too quickly?" "No." I stood up, smoothing my thrift store dress. "That's strange, because I have the most interesting voicemail from you about it. Would everyone like to hear?" "Layla," my father's voice came from somewhere behind me, warning in his tone, always ready to defend everyone but me. I reached for my phone, watching Regina's perfectly manicured hands begin to shake. "What's wrong, Aunt Regina? You look like you've seen a ghost. Or maybe just your own karma." The room had gone completely silent now. Even the baby shower games coordinator looked uncomfortable. "I think," Regina said, her voice tight, "it might be best if you leave." I smiled. The same calm smile I'd been practicing for months. "Oh, I will. But first, let's talk about what really happened to my mother's estate after she died. Or should we start with the Charity Foundation's missing funds?" Regina lunged for her purse, probably reaching for her own phone, but I already had mine out, thumb hovering over the play button. "What they don't know," I thought, watching panic spread across my aunt's face, "is that I've been recording things too. And unlike them, I've got receipts for days." The best part about revenge, I was about to learn, isn't the planning or even the execution. It's that perfect moment when your tormentors realize they've finally, spectacularly, underestimated you for the last time. 2 months earlier, I sat at the kids' table during our monthly family brunch, pushing eggs around my plate while watching the real family pose for photos. The irony of being 28 and relegated to dining with tweens wasn't lost on me. "Layla, honey," Eva called out, her voice syrupy sweet. "Would you mind taking the family photo?" I looked up from my phone, where I'd been secretly recording the entire brunch. "Family photo? Sure. Should I be in it too?" "Oh." Eva exchanged glances with Regina. "Well, this is more for the immediate family. You understand?" Immediate family, right, because my father's second wife and her daughter somehow counted more than his actual child. I stood up, taking Ava's phone. Through the screen, I watched them arrange themselves. Dad in the centre, Eva clutching his arm, Mila beside them, Regina and Bridget completing the perfect family portrait. Click. "Beautiful," I said, handing the phone back. Really captured the authenticity. As they dispersed, I noticed Regina pulling my father aside, her voice dropping to an urgent whisper. I pretended to be fascinated by my coffee cup, while hitting record on my phone again. "Hector, please," Regina was saying. "It's just a small loan. 10,000, 15, tops." "Regina, we've discussed this," Dad sighed. "The investment with Quincy was your choice. I warned you." "It wasn't just my choice," Regina hissed. "You know what's at stake here. If this gets out..." "Is everything okay?" Eva appeared, touching Dad's arm possessively. Regina straightened up, her face transforming into its usual mask of superiority. "Just discussing the charity gala next month. You'll be there, won't you, Layla?" I looked up, surprised to be acknowledged. "Wouldn't miss it, especially since you're partnering with that exciting new foundation. What was it called again?" Regina's smile tightened. "You wouldn't understand the complexities of philanthropic work, dear. Still doing your little computer drawings?" "Graphic design," I corrected. "And yes, still paying my own bills, unlike some people." Later that night, my phone lit up with a Facebook message from Regina. "Layla, I know we've had our differences, but I need your help. Can you loan me some money? It's an emergency. I'll pay you back double." I stared at the message, then played back the recording from brunch. The same aunt who'd been begging my father for cash was now hitting me up? Interesting. The next morning, my voicemail filled with Regina's increasingly desperate messages. "Layla, please call me back. I know you have savings. This is important. 10,000. That's all I need. Think of it as an investment. If you tell anyone about this, you'll regret it. We're family. We handle things internally. I saved every message, every text, each one more frantic than the last. Then I started digging into Regina's charity work. It didn't take long to find the connection to Quincy O'Connor, a man known for helping wealthy socialites hide money through fake charitable foundations. At work, I used my lunch break to create a detailed spreadsheet of dates, amounts, and suspicious transfers. But before I could dig deeper, my boss called me into her office. "Layla," she said, not meeting my eyes, "we need to discuss some organizational changes." That evening, I sat in my apartment, surrounded by printouts of Regina's financial records and my own termination papers. My phone buzzed with a text from Mila. "Heard about your job. Tough break. Maybe if you networked more instead of playing detective." I froze. How did she know? Unless... Another text arrived, this time from Regina. "I'd keep your little suspicions to yourself. You've never been part of this family. Don't try starting now." I leaned back, letting out a laugh that surprised even me. They thought they were threatening me. After years of exclusion, subtle jabs, and outright cruelty, they still didn't get it. I had nothing left to lose. I opened my laptop and started typing. "Dear Mr. O'Connor, I believe we have some mutual interests to discuss regarding the Young Family Foundation." My phone rang. Regina again. I let it go to voicemail, adding another recording to my growing collection. Let them think they'd scared me into silence. Let them believe I was just the family failure, too broke and powerless to fight back. I picked up my mother's old journal from my bedside table, running my fingers over her handwriting. "Sometimes," she'd written, "the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous." Mom had been right about so many things. And soon, very soon, everyone would know exactly how right she'd been about Regina. The HR director's voice was apologetic, but firm through my phone speaker. "We're implementing company-wide restructuring, Layla. Your position has been eliminated, effective immediately." I sat in my car, parked outside my father's house, listening to the details of my severance package. 2 weeks' pay, health insurance through the end of the month, the usual corporate goodbye gift. Of course, I said, my voice steady. I understand completely. What I understood was that Regina's reach extended further than I'd imagined. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. I walked up to my father's front door, determined to finally have an honest conversation with him. Eva answered instead, wearing her signature look of polite disdain. "Layla, we weren't expecting you." "Is Dad home?" She gestured toward his study, where I found him buried in paperwork. He barely looked up when I entered. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something important." "Can it wait? I'm dealing with some foundation issues." "I lost my job today." That got his attention. He finally met my eyes, but his expression was more annoyed than concerned. "These things happen, sweetheart. Have you been keeping your skills current?" "Dad, I think Regina had something to do with it." He sighed, putting down his pen. "Not this again. Your aunt is going through a difficult time. She doesn't have time to meddle in your career." "A difficult time?" I pulled out my phone. "You mean like this?" I played one of Regina's voicemails. "Hector can't know about the missing money. Quincy promised he could cover it up, but we need more funds." Dad's face darkened. "Where did you get that?" "She's been calling me for weeks, begging for money. Did you know she's working with Quincy O'Connor?" "That's enough." He stood up abruptly. "Regina's business dealings are none of your concern, and recording private conversations? That's a new low, even for you." "Even for me," I laughed. "What about the charity fraud, the missing donations? Does any of that matter?" "You don't understand how these things work," he said, his voice dropping. "Sometimes maintaining appearances is more important than..." "Than what? The truth?" Eva appeared in the doorway. "Is everything all right? Bridget's baby shower planning committee is meeting here in 20 minutes. Dad straightened his tie. "We're done here. Layla, I suggest you focus on finding a new job instead of creating drama." I walked out, my hands shaking. In my car, I pulled up the email I'd received that morning from Quincy O'Connor himself. "Ms. Blair, your aunt's foundation is none of your business. However, if you're interested in discussing matters further, perhaps we could meet." Below that was another email, this one from an anonymous account. "Look into Regina Young's real estate holdings, specifically the Walker Street property. Follow the money." I drove to Walker Street, a rundown area where Regina's charity claimed to be building affordable housing. The lot was empty, except for a weather-beaten sign announcing future home of Young Family Foundation Community Center. My phone buzzed with a text from Bridget. "Heard you got fired. Don't worry, I'm sure someone will hire you for entry-level work. BTW, you're still coming to my shower, right? Gifts minimum $200. I took a photo of the empty lot, then started researching property records. The community center had received over $2 million in donations. The building permits were all fake. Another text arrived, this time from Regina. "Stay away from Walker Street. Last warning." I smiled, saving the message. Then I called the number Quincy had provided. "Mr. O'Connor's office. This is Layla Blair. Tell him I have proof of the Walker Street fraud, and I'm happy to share it with the IRS, unless he wants to talk." There was a pause. "Hold, please." Quincy's voice came on the line, smooth as oil. "Miss Blair, I wondered when you'd call. Shall we discuss this over coffee?" "No coffee, just answers. How long have you been helping my aunt launder money?" He chuckled. "Straight to the point. Like mother, like daughter?" I froze. "What do you know about my mother?" "More than you'd think." "Tell me, did they ever explain exactly how she died?" The line went dead. I sat in my car, staring at the empty lot where millions of donated dollars had vanished. My mother's death had always been attributed to an accidental overdose of anxiety medication. But now? My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Your mother was asking the same questions before she died. Be careful who you trust." The baby shower was in 3 days. I had work to do. The attic of my childhood home smelled like dust and secrets. I hadn't been up here since before Mom died. But Quincy's words kept echoing in my head. I needed answers. "What are you doing up there?" Eva's voice carried from below. Just looking for some old photos, I called back. For Bridget's shower. Don't make a mess, and be quick about it. I have a committee meeting in an hour. I waited until her heels clicked away before pulling out my phone's flashlight. Mum's old chest sat in the corner, covered in cobwebs. The lock was still intact. Dad had never bothered to open it after she died. Thank God for YouTube lock-picking tutorials. 10 minutes later, I lifted the lid. The smell of her perfume, faint but present, made my throat tight. Inside were stacks of papers, old journals, and a manila envelope marked Regina, Evidence. Oh my God, I whispered, pulling out the first journal. The entry was dated 3 months before her death. Regina's been pressuring Hector about the trust fund again. Says she needs access for her new foundation. I've tried warning him about Quincy, but he won't listen. Someone needs to stop them before it's too late. I flipped through more pages. Found discrepancies in Regina's charity accounts. Millions missing. When I confronted her, she laughed. Said no one would believe the unstable sister-in-law. Eva's involved somehow? Caught her shredding documents in Hector's study? They don't know I made copies. The last entry made my blood run cold. Regina threatened me today. Said accidents happen to people who ask too many questions. I've hidden the proof in the old beach house. If anything happens to me... The entry stopped mid-sentence. My phone buzzed. A text from Regina. Eva says you're snooping in the attic. Careful what you dig up. I quickly photographed every page, then reached for the manila envelope. Inside were bank statements, property records, and photos. One showed Regina meeting with Quincy outside a bank. Another captured Eva handling a briefcase in a parking garage. Layla? Dad's voice startled me. He stood at the attic entrance. What are you doing with your mother's things? I held up the photos. Maybe you can explain these? He climbed up, face pale as he looked at the images. Where did you get those? Mum took them, before her accidental overdose. Don't. His voice cracked. Don't go there. Why not? Because Regina's your precious sister? Because Eva's your perfect wife? Or because you knew what they were doing and looked the other way? You don't understand. Mum understood. That's why she died, isn't it? He grabbed the photos. Your mother was troubled. She imagined conspiracies everywhere. Really? I pulled out my phone, played Regina's voicemail about the missing money. Was she imagining this too? Dad sank onto an old trunk. Regina made some mistakes, bad investments, but she's family. Mum was family too. Layla, please. He looked older suddenly, defeated. Let it go, for everyone's sake. Like you let Mum go? He flinched. I grabbed the journal and envelope, backing away. The charity fraud, the threats, Mum's death, it's all connected, and I'm going to prove it. You'll destroy this family. No, Dad. They already did that. Downstairs, Eva was waiting. Find what you were looking for? I clutched Mum's journal to my chest. Actually, yes. My phone buzzed again. Quincy. Meet me tomorrow, noon. I'll tell you everything about your mother. Eva's eyes narrowed at the journal. That belongs to the family. You're right, I said, walking past her. It belongs to my real family. Outside, I sat in my car, hands shaking as I read more entries. Mum had documented everything. The fake charities, the laundered money, Regina's partnership with Quincy. She'd been building a case, preparing to expose them all. Then she'd, accidentally, taken too many pills. Another text arrived, anonymous. Your mother left something at the beach house. 3rd floorboard from the window. Get it before they do. I started the car. The beach house was an hour away, abandoned since Mum's death. Dad had never sold it, claiming too many memories. Or maybe he was afraid of what someone might find there. Regina's voice played from my latest recording. I'd keep your little suspicions to yourself. I smiled, thinking of the baby shower in 2 days. Don't worry, Aunt Regina. I won't keep them to myself. I'll share them with everyone. The beach house waited, holding one last secret. And this time, I wouldn't let them bury the truth along with it. Layla? I nearly dropped my coffee. That voice. I hadn't heard it in 2 years, not since our messy breakup. But there was Milo, standing in the bookstore cafe, looking exactly the same except for a new tech startup guy beard. Of all the coffee shops in all the world, I said, trying to sound casual while clutching Mom's journal under my arm. You look... He paused. Stressed. That obvious? I always could read you. He gestured to the empty chair across from me. Mind if I? I hesitated, then nodded. Milo had been the one person who'd seen through my family's perfect facade. Maybe that's why they'd worked so hard to drive him away. Still doing tech security consulting? I asked. Yeah. Actually, just finished a job tracking financial fraud for a big charity foundation. He smiled. Funny coincidence. It involved someone you might know. Quincy O'Connor. My coffee cup froze halfway to my mouth. What do you know about Quincy? Enough to know he's meeting you at noon. At my shocked look, he added, I may have been monitoring his communications. Professionally, of course. Of course. I leaned forward. Milo, what's his connection to my aunt? Better question. What was his connection to your mum? I pulled out the journal, showed him the entries. His eyes widened as he read. Holy shit, Layla. This is bigger than charity fraud. This is... Murder? I finished quietly. He ran a hand through his hair. You can't meet Quincy alone. He's dangerous. I need answers. Then let me help. He pulled out his laptop. I've been building a case against him for months. Look at this. He showed me financial records, property transfers, shell companies, all connecting Regina, Quincy, and Eva to millions in stolen charitable donations. The Walker Street property? I asked. Just the tip of the iceberg. They've been running this scam for years. Started right around the time your mum died. My phone buzzed. Regina. Changed my mind about that loan. Name your price. They're getting nervous, Milo said, reading over my shoulder. Good. I have to go to the beach house, I told him. Mom left something there. I'm coming with you. Milo? Look, I'm sorry I walked away before. I let them intimidate me. But I'm not leaving you alone in this. An hour later, we stood in my mother's dusty beach house. The third floorboard came up easily, revealing a USB drive and a sealed envelope. It's encrypted, Milo said, examining the drive. Give me an hour. While he worked, I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. My dearest Layla, if you're reading this, they finally silenced me, but they couldn't erase the evidence. Everything's here. The fake charities, the stolen money, and the truth about Regina and Quincy's partnership. Eva helped them cover it up, convinced your father I was paranoid. Maybe I was, but I was also right. The drive contains proof. Bank records, recordings, photos, enough to destroy them all. I'm trusting you to finish what I started. Be careful, be brave, be smarter than I was. All my love, Mum. Got it, Milo called out. Layla, you need to see this. His laptop showed dozens of files, videos of Regina and Quincy planning their schemes, evidence of forged documents, and one final video, security footage from the night my mother died. I can't watch this, I whispered. Milo squeezed my hand. You don't have to, but now we have everything we need. My phone lit up. Quincy. Where are you? Meeting started 30 minutes ago. Then Regina. Whatever he's offering, I'll double it. Perfect, Milo said. They're turning on each other. The baby shower's tomorrow. He looked at me. You sure you want to do it there? In front of everyone? That's exactly where it needs to happen. They humiliated my mother, drove her to her death, then acted like nothing happened. Okay. He started copying files. I'll create a presentation they'll never forget. Why are you helping me? He paused. Because 2 years ago, I walked away when you needed me. I won't make that mistake again. My phone buzzed one more time. Ava, your father's very disappointed in your behaviour. Last chance to drop this nonsense. I looked at Milo, at Mum's letter, at the evidence spread across his laptop screen. Tell Dad not to worry, I texted back. Tomorrow, everyone will finally see the truth. Hope you all got Bridget something nice for the shower. I know I did. Ready? Milo asked. I nodded, picking up Mum's journal. Time to give my family the surprise party they deserve. Everything's loaded on your phone, Milo said, handing me back my device. One tap, and it'll all stream to the smart TV at Regina's house. We sat in his car outside a coffee shop, hours before the baby shower. I scrolled through the files, Mum's videos, Regina's voicemails, the security footage, bank records, all organised into a devastating presentation. "You sure about this?" he asked. "Watch this," I said, dialing Regina's number on speaker. "Layla, I was just thinking about you." Her voice dripped honey. "About that loan you mentioned?" "Save it. I'm calling about Mum's beach house visit the night she died." Silence. Then, "I don't know what you're talking about." "No? The security cameras remember. So does Quincy." "He contacted you?" Sharp edge to her voice now. "He showed me everything, Regina. The fake charities, the money laundering, the threats against Mum. Whatever he told you." "I'm giving you one chance. Confess at the shower, return the money, or everyone sees the footage." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "You're bluffing. Check your email." I heard her sharp intake of breath as she opened the clip I'd sent, just enough to prove I had it all. "You little bitch," she whispered. "See you at the shower, Aunt Regina. Don't forget my gift." I hung up. My phone immediately lit up with texts. "Eva, stop this nonsense immediately." "Mila, you're pathetic." "Dad, we need to talk." "Bridget, don't you dare ruin my shower." "They're scared," Milo observed. "Good." I checked my makeup in the mirror. "They should be. I'll be parked outside if you need me." "Actually," I hesitated. "Would you come in with me?" He smiled. "Try to stop me." We arrived at Regina's house just as the party was starting. Eva's eyes narrowed when she saw Milo. "This is a family event," she said. "Perfect," I replied, "because we're about to have a real family discussion." Inside, Regina was holding court, directing caterers and fawning over Bridget. She froze when she saw me. "Layla, and Milo, how unexpected." "Wouldn't miss it," I said, setting my gift, a simple USB drive wrapped in baby paper, on the table. Milo connected his laptop to the TV while I circulated, recording every conversation on my phone. Regina kept watching me, her smile growing more strained by the minute. "Present time," Bridget announced, clapping her hands. I watched them open gift after gift. Designer clothes, expensive toys, each one accompanied by Regina's running commentary about the giver's generosity. "Layla's next," Mila said sweetly, "though I'm not sure how much she could afford, being unemployed and all." The room tittered. I stood up. "Actually, my gift is for everyone." I nodded to Milo. "Especially you, Aunt Regina." "This isn't the time," Dad started. "It's exactly the time." I faced the room. "Did you know my mum tried to expose a charity fraud scheme right before she died? Regina, why don't you tell everyone about the Walker Street property?" Regina's face went white. "Layla, don't." "No? Then let's watch this instead." Milo hit play. The TV lit up with security footage. Regina and Quincy counting money in her office. Eva shredding documents. Mum confronting them all. "Turn it off!" Regina lunged for the TV. "Can't," Milo said. "It's streaming live to several news outlets." The room erupted. Bridget started crying. Eva grabbed her phone. Dad just sat there, head in his hands. "That's not all," I announced, my voice carrying over the chaos. "Mum left evidence about everything, including the night she died." "You're lying," Regina snarled. I played her voicemail. 10,000, that's all I need. Think of it as an investment." Then another. "If you tell anyone about this, you'll regret it." And finally, the security footage from the beach house, showing Regina and Eva entering the night Mom died. "The police have copies," Milo added. "They're very interested in the timing of your visit and her accidental overdose." Sirens wailed in the distance. Regina grabbed her purse, but Milo blocked the door. "Going somewhere, Aunt Regina, but we haven't even had cake." The first police car pulled up outside. I watched my family's perfect facade crumble in real time. "Layla," Dad pleaded, "she's still your aunt." "No." I picked up Mum's journal. "She's the woman who killed my mother, and now everyone knows it." The doorbell rang. Regina started to cry. I smiled, the same calm smile I'd been practicing for months. Best baby shower ever, don't you think? The police officers entered Regina's perfect home, disrupting her perfect party, and my perfect revenge snapped into place like the last piece of a puzzle. Regina Young? The lead detective held up his badge. We have some questions about the Young Family Foundation and the death of Lillian Blair. Regina's mascara was running, but she still tried to maintain control. This is ridiculous. We're having a baby shower. Actually, I stepped forward. We're having a long overdue family meeting. Detective, I have something you should see. I handed him Mum's journal and the USB drive. There's evidence of charity fraud, money laundering, and... I looked directly at Regina. Premeditated murder. You can't prove anything, Eva cut in, but her voice shook. The security footage proves everything, Milo said, pulling up the beach house video. Watch this part carefully, Detective. The footage showed Regina and Eva entering Mum's beach house at 11:42 p.m. They left at 12:37 a.m. Mum was found dead the next morning. That proves nothing, Regina snapped. We were checking on her. Really? I played another recording. Regina's voice filled the room. She knows too much. We need to handle this tonight. The detective took notes while Regina's face crumpled. Bridget had collapsed onto the couch, her baby shower gifts scattered around her like evidence at a crime scene. Mrs. Young, we'll need you to come down to the station, the detective said. Wait! Regina's voice turned desperate. Layla, please, I'll tell you everything. I'll give you money, whatever you want. I walked up to her, close enough to smell her expensive perfume. I want my mother back. It wasn't supposed to happen like that, she whispered. She was just supposed to take enough to sleep, to forget what she'd found. We didn't mean to kill her, I finished. Just like you didn't mean to get me fired, to isolate me from my family, to steal millions from charity. Ava tried to reach for her phone, but Milo intercepted it. Looking for Quincy? He's already at the station. Turns out he doesn't handle pressure well. Hector? Eva pleaded with my father. Do something. Dad finally stood up. For a moment, I thought he might defend them again. Instead, he walked over and picked up Mum's journal. I should have believed her, he said quietly. I'm sorry, Layla. Regina made one last attempt. Everything I did for this family. The foundation helped people. The foundation stole from people, I corrected. Just like you stole my mother from me. The detective moved to handcuff Regina. She thrashed, suddenly hysterical. You ungrateful little bitch. After everything I did for you, what you did for me. I laughed. Let's list it. You murdered my mother, gaslit my father, stole millions, got me fired, excluded me from every family event, and then, I gestured around the room, you mocked me at your daughter's baby shower. Speaking of which, Milo added, everything's still streaming live. Your charity donors are getting quite a show. Regina's scream of rage was cut short by the detective reading her rights. Eva was handcuffed next, still trying to maintain her dignity. You'll regret this, she hissed as they led her out. Not as much as you will, I replied. Mila tried to slip away, but I caught her arm. Don't forget your part in this. The recordings of you helping them cover it up. The IRS will be very interested. The baby shower guests fled like rats from a sinking ship. Bridget sat alone, mascara streaked, surrounded by expensive gifts bought with stolen money. Did you know? I asked her. She shook her head. Not everything, just pieces. I didn't want to know more. Well, now everyone knows. Dad touched my shoulder. Layla, I don't know how to make this right. You can't. I shrugged off his hand. But you can start by telling the police everything you remember about Mum's last days. He nodded, following the detective out. Milo and I stood in the wreckage of the party. Pastel decorations hung limply, the welcome baby banner now seeming darkly ironic. Want to get out of here? He asked. 1 second. I walked over to the gift table and picked up the mobile I'd made. For the baby, I told Bridget. It's not bought with stolen money, so it might be the only gift you get to keep. She took it, hands trembling. I'm sorry about everything. Me too. I turned to leave, then looked back. Oh, and Bridget? Don't name the baby after Regina. Prison visits are hell on a newborn's schedule. Outside, police lights painted the perfect suburban street in red and blue. Neighbours watched from behind curtains as Regina and Eva were driven away. "Ready?" Milo asked. I took one last look at the house where my family's secrets had finally unravelled. "Yeah, let's go get cake somewhere else." The morning newspaper headline read, "Socialite sisters charged in multi-million-dollar charity fraud connected to cold case death." Regina's mugshot didn't look quite as polished as her usual society page photos. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since the baby shower. Texts from distant relatives claiming they always knew something was wrong. Messages from Regina's charity donors demanding answers. Reporters wanting interviews. I ignored them all and drove to the cemetery instead. "Hey, Mum," I said, placing fresh flowers on her grave. "We did it. They can't hurt anyone else now." "Thought I'd find you here." Milo's voice came from behind me. He held up 2 coffee cups. "Brought reinforcements." "Thanks." I took a sip. "The detective called. Quincy's talking. A lot. I heard. The DA's offering him a deal in exchange for testimony about the night your mum died." A text lit up my phone. "Bridget. They're seizing all the foundation's assets. Dad left. Everything's falling apart." "Good," I said. But the victory felt hollow somehow. "Having second thoughts?" Milo asked. "No, just..." I touched Mum's headstone. "Wish she could see this." "She can. Through you." Another text buzzed. Dad this time. "I'm at the beach house. Please come. Need to show you something." "Want backup?" Milo offered. I shook my head. "This one I need to do alone." The beach house looked different in daylight. Less haunted. Dad waited on the porch, holding a cardboard box. "Found these while cleaning out my office," he said as I approached. "Your mother's photos. The real ones, not the ones Regina made us display." Inside the box were hundreds of pictures. Mom and me at the beach. Family picnics before Eva. My first art show, Mom beaming with pride. "I was a coward," Dad said quietly. "I let them convince me she was unstable. Let them erase her bit by bit. Then I let them do the same to you." "Why?" "Because believing the lie was easier than facing the truth." He pulled out one last photo. Mom and Regina as young girls, smiling, arms linked. I never understood what changed Regina, why she became so... evil? Broken. He sighed. "The detective found evidence that she'd been embezzling long before your mother discovered it. The foundation was just her biggest scheme." My phone buzzed again. The detective. "Quincy confirmed everything. Eva and Regina will be charged with first-degree murder." "They're going to prison," I told Dad. "For a long time." He nodded. "Good." Then, "I've stepped down from the company board. Selling the house too. Think I need a fresh start." "What about Ava's daughter?" "Mila's fled to Europe. Probably wise, given the federal investigation." We stood in silence, watching waves crash against the shore. Finally, Dad spoke again. "I know I can't fix this. Can't make up for failing you and your mother. But I'd like to try, if you'll let me." I thought about Mum's journal entry. "Hector's not evil, just weak. Sometimes that's worse." "We can start with lunch," I said. "Small steps." He smiled, relieved. Small steps. My phone lit up with a news alert. "Young Family Foundation Donors File Class Action Lawsuit." Below it was a text from Bridget. "Had the baby. Named her Lillian. Hope that's okay." I showed Dad the text. His eyes got wet. "Life's weird," I said. "One minute you're plotting revenge at a baby shower, the next you're a sort of aunt. Your mother would have loved that." He picked up the box of photos. "Want to get coffee? Look through these properly?" "Actually..." I glanced at my phone. "Milo's waiting, but maybe tomorrow." "Tomorrow," he agreed. Small steps. Driving back to the city, I passed Regina's now empty house. The "Welcome Baby" banner still hung limply, a pastel ghost of last week's implosion. Milo waited at our usual coffee shop, laptop open. "How'd it go?" "Better than expected." I sat down. "What are you working on?" "Job listings. Several tech firms are interested in your design skills, especially after that presentation you put together." I laughed. "Revenge, the ultimate portfolio piece. Speaking of..." He turned the laptop toward me. "Remember that mobile app you designed? The one Regina said would never work? 3 companies want to develop it?" My phone buzzed one last time. An email from Mum's old account scheduled decades ago. My dearest Layla, if you're reading this, you've finally uncovered the truth. Remember, justice isn't about destruction, it's about reconstruction. Build something beautiful from these ashes. All my love, Mom. I looked at Milo, at the job listings, at the future stretching out ahead. Ready to build something new? He asked. I closed Mom's email and opened a blank document. Actually, I said, I think I already have.
The statement stared back at me from my laptop screen, mocking everything I'd sacrificed for the past 6 years. 0 balance. Not even enough for an overdraft fee. I refreshed the page 3 times before the truth sank in. My sister had cleaned out our parents' care fund, every last penny. My name is Morgan, and I just became the victim of a $247,000 theft by my own flesh and blood. I called the bank first, my hands trembling as I punched in my PIN. The representative's voice was sympathetic but useless. Yes, Ms. Norris. The withdrawals appear legitimate. The other account holder made them in person over the last 2 weeks. The other account holder. Wren. My baby sister, who hadn't spent a single night watching Dad after his stroke. Who'd never changed Mom's sheets or counted out her medications or driven them to doctor's appointments. I didn't bother calling her. I got in my car and drove straight to her apartment, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. The same apartment she'd complained about last month, calling it a total dump despite the fact that I was paying half her rent from that very account. She opened the door in a silk robe, champagne glass in hand. Oh my God, Morgie. Perfect timing. I'm filming a house tour for my followers. Want to be in it? I shouldered past her into the apartment. Where is it, Wren? Where's what? Her innocent act hadn't changed since we were kids. Same wide eyes, same slight head tilt. The money, all of it, from Mom and Dad's account. She took a long sip of champagne, then smiled. Oh, that? Come see. She led me to her laptop, pulled up a browser, and clicked through to a real estate listing. A beachfront condo in Laguna Beach. The kind of place that belonged in architectural magazines. Isn't it gorgeous? I close next week. She clapped her hands together. My followers are going to die when they see it. The room started spinning. You stole their care money for a fucking condo? I didn't steal anything, she snapped, dropping the bubbly act. My name was on the account too, and honestly, I deserved it more. Deserved it. I've been taking care of them. Because you chose to. Nobody asked you to be such a martyr. She rolled her eyes. Besides, they always loved me more. You know that. The words hit like a physical blow, because they were true. Every time Wren had stolen from Mom's purse growing up, every time she'd crashed a car or maxed out their credit cards, they'd defended her. She's just spirited, Mom would say. She'll grow out of it. Meanwhile, I was the boring one, the responsible one, the one they took for granted. They need that money, I said, my voice hollow. Dad's medication alone. Oh, please. Wren walked to her phone, which was set up on a tripod. They're fine. I already talked to them about it. They're happy for me. She started recording. Hey, loves. Quick life update. Your girl is officially a homeowner. I stood there watching her perform for her phone, describing her manifestation journey and how the universe provides when you're aligned with your truth. My sister, the lifestyle influencer, who just manifested herself a fortune in stolen money. And the best part? She turned the phone toward her laptop, showing off the condo listing. My amazing parents helped make this dream come true. Look at this gorgeous photo they took with me at the viewing. The image showed Wren with her arms around our parents in front of the condo's floor-to-ceiling windows, Dad in his wheelchair looking confused, Mom smiling vacantly. They had no idea what they were even doing there. I'm calling the police, I said. Wren lowered her phone, her smile turning sharp. Go ahead. The account was in my name too. And Mom and Dad will back me up. They already signed papers saying this was a gift. You'll just look bitter and jealous. She stepped closer. Face it, Morgie, you're the only one who has a problem with this. Maybe it's time to let go of trying to control everyone? I left her apartment in a daze. Called my parents on the drive home. Mom answered, her voice dreamy and distant. Oh, honey. Ren explained everything. She's such a good girl, isn't she? Finally making something of herself. I hung up and pulled over, pressing my forehead against the steering wheel. 6 years of my life, every spare dollar I had, all gone to my sister's manifestation journey. My phone buzzed. A notification that Ren had tagged me in her Instagram story. The condo tour video was already going viral. The caption read, "So blessed to have a family that believes in dreams. Jad blessed Laguna life. Jad new homeowner." That's when I felt it. Something cold and hard crystallizing in my chest. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I picked up my phone and made a call. "Piper, it's Morgan. I need your legal advice, and I need you to be ruthless." Piper's law office smelled like leather and coffee. She sat across from me, scanning bank statements with the kind of focus that made her one of the city's top attorneys. "The good news is there's a paper trail," she said. "The bad news is your sister covered her bases. Joint account, parental signatures, even a notarized gift letter." "Those signatures can't be real," I said. "Dad can barely hold a pen since his stroke." "Call your mom, see what she says about the signatures, record the conversation." I did, putting the phone on speaker. Mom answered after 5 rings. "Hi, sweetie, I'm watching Ren's new video. Have you seen her bathroom? It has one of those Japanese toilets." "Mom, did you and Dad sign any papers for Ren recently? About money?" "Papers?" She paused. "No. Well, maybe. She brought some things over last week. Or was it last month? You know how my memory gets." "What kind of papers?" "Oh, just some things for her new place. She said it was important. Your father was having a good day, so—" "Did you read them?" Another pause. "Ren said they were just formalities. She wouldn't trick us, Morgan. Not like you're suggesting." Piper was taking notes, her expression grim. "Mom, what about Dad's social security number? Did Ren ask for that too?" "Well, yes, for the thing. The important thing." Mom's voice grew defensive. "Why are you asking all these questions? Are you jealous of your sister's success?" After I hung up, Piper leaned forward. "We need to check your father's credit report. Now." 20 minutes and 3 security questions later, we stared at the screen in silence. There it was, a mortgage application using Dad's social security number as a co-signer. Approved 2 weeks ago. "That's fraud," Piper said quietly. "Criminal fraud." My phone buzzed. A voicemail from Ren, timestamp 2:47 a.m. I played it on speaker. "Morgie, baby sis here." Ren's words slurred together. "Just had the most amazing housewarming party. You should have been here." "Well, no, actually you would have been a total buzzkill." She laughed. "But guess what? Marley helped me set up a whole new business account. We're gonna flip this place in 6 months, make a killing. Already got buyers lined up through Dad's old golf club friends. I mean, he's not using those connections anymore, right? Might as well be me." Piper's eyebrows shot up. She mouthed, "Keep this." The voicemail continued. "Oh, and don't worry about Mom and Dad. They're fine. I got them one of those pill organizer things. The nurse only needs to come like twice a week now. Think of all the money we're saving. Anyway, love you, even though you're being such a bitch about everything. Kisses." "The nurse?" I said. "They need daily care. Who's giving them their medication?" "Call them again," Piper said. "Right now." Dad answered this time, his speech slow and slurred. "Morgan? That you? Dad, is the nurse still coming every day?" "Nurse? No. Ren said, too expensive. She's handling it now. Calls to check. Every few days." My blood ran cold. "Dad, who gave you your blood pressure medication this morning?" "Don't remember. But Ren, she knows what she's doing. She showed us. Her videos. So many people. Love her. I looked at Piper, my hands shaking. She's not just stealing their money, she's neglecting them. This changes everything, Piper said, pulling out a fresh legal pad. We're not just talking civil court anymore. This is elder abuse territory. She started writing rapidly. But Morgan, you need to understand something. If we go this route, if we get adult protective services involved, it's going to get ugly. Family destroying ugly. They're already being destroyed, I said. She's just doing it with a smile on Instagram. My phone buzzed again. A text from Ren. Check out my new video. Mom and Dad send their love from the hot tub. I clicked the link. There were my parents posed on the condo's balcony. Dad slumped in his wheelchair, Mom looking confused in a designer swimsuit. The caption read, "Nothing better than family support, taking care of the people who always took care of me. Blessed Naw family first." The comments were full of praise. Such a good daughter. Goals. You deserve this. Piper touched my arm. Morgan, what do you want to do? I thought about the 6 years I'd spent changing diapers, managing medications, fighting insurance companies. About the vacations I'd canceled, the promotions I'd turned down, the relationships I'd let fade. About my sister, sipping champagne in a stolen condo while our parents sat alone, under-medicated and confused. I want justice, I said. Whatever it takes. Piper nodded and picked up her phone. I know someone at APS. Her name is Quincy Ward. She specializes in cases exactly like this. She paused before dialing. Just remember, once we start this, there's no going back. Good, I said, because I'm done going back. It's time to go forward. Quincy Ward's office at Adult Protective Services looked exactly like you'd expect. Government-issue furniture, fluorescent lights, and walls plastered with informational posters about elder abuse. The woman herself, though, was a surprise, sharp-eyed and straight-backed, with the kind of presence that made you sit up straighter. Walk me through the timeline, she said, spreading my documents across her desk. Start with when you first noticed the money missing. I laid it out piece by piece. The emptied account, the fraudulent mortgage application, the voicemails, the changed medication schedule. With each detail, Quincy's expression grew darker. And you have copies of everything? I pulled out my laptop. Screenshots, recordings, bank statements. Even her social media posts showing she's using their home equity for her business ventures. Quincy clicked through the files, pausing on a recent Instagram post. Ren lounging by her new pool, caption reading, "Manifesting generational wealth. Thanks Mom and Dad for believing in me." Business mindset, entrepreneur life. Your sister's quite the performer, Quincy said dryly. She always has been, even as kids. Save the childhood drama, Quincy cut in. I need recent documented evidence. Show me the medical neglect. I pulled up the nurse's logs. Daily care reduced to twice weekly, blood pressure medication skipped, physical therapy canceled, all in the last month, right after she got access to the accounts. And your parents' mental state? Dad's had cognitive issues since his stroke. Mom's early-stage dementia was diagnosed last year. I have their medical records here. Quincy made notes, her pen scratching against paper. What about your sister's business partner, the one she mentioned in the voicemail? Marley. He helps manage her social media. I don't know much else. We'll need to talk to him. She looked up. You understand what happens next? We'll conduct welfare checks, interview everyone involved. Your parents may need temporary guardianship assignment. My throat tightened. I can take them. Not yet. We need to establish a protected trust first. She reached for her phone. I'm calling in a surveillance request for your sister's property. If she's neglecting their care while they're visiting. My phone buzzed. A new Instagram notification. Ren had posted a video. Speaking of evidence, I said, turning the screen toward Quincy. The video showed our parents in Ren's condo. Mom was crying, reading from what was clearly a script. We're so blessed to have a daughter like Ren. She's taking such good care of us. We freely gave her our savings because she deserves it. Please stop saying mean things about her online. Dad sat beside her, staring blankly at nothing. Quincy's face hardened. Emotional manipulation, financial coercion, and… She zoomed in on Dad's arm, showing a dark bruise. Potential physical abuse. When was this posted? 2 minutes ago. She picked up her phone again. I'm expediting the welfare check. Today. She fixed me with a stern look. But you need to understand something. This could turn criminal very quickly. Fraud charges, elder abuse. Your sister could face serious jail time. Is that what you want? I thought about Ren's voice in that drunken voicemail. About Mom crying on camera. About Dad's vacant stare. I want them safe, I said. Whatever it takes. Good answer. Quincy started gathering the documents. Because this isn't about revenge. It's about protection. My phone buzzed again. A direct message from Ren. Hey sis, just posted the most amazing video with Mom and Dad. They really want you to back off, okay? Stop poisoning people against me. They chose to help me succeed. Maybe if you weren't such a bitter control freak, they would help you too. Love you though. I showed Quincy the message. Perfect, she said. Keep her talking. Let her dig herself deeper. She stood up. I'm sending a team to your parents' house in an hour. Be ready for backlash. From Ren? From everyone. Family protective instincts run deep, even when they're misplaced. She handed me her card. The next few weeks will be hell. But if we do this right, your parents will be safe, and your sister will face consequences. As if on cue, my phone rang. Mom's number. Should I answer? Quincy nodded. Speaker. Morgan. Mom's voice wavered. Ren says you're trying to hurt her. She says you're jealous of her success. Why can't you just be happy for your sister? I met Quincy's eyes. She mouthed, record. Mom, where's your heart medication? Have you taken it today? Ren says we don't need all those pills. She's saving us money for the investment. In her future. Quincy was already dialing another number, her expression grim. Morgan? Mom's voice cracked. Please don't ruin this for her. She's all I have left. The words hit like a punch to the gut. But before I could respond, Quincy's phone lit up. The welfare check team is ready, she said. This ends today. The notification from the bank came through while I was at work. New trust account activated. Protected status. One simple alert that locked Ren out of what remained of our parents' money. I barely had time to breathe before my phone exploded with notifications. First came the texts. What did you do? The account is frozen. Answer me, you psycho! Then the Instagram live notification. Ren lifestyle is streaming. Emergency. Being attacked by my own sister. I clicked. There was Ren, mascara running, pacing her luxury condo. My followers, I need your support right now. My sister, my own sister, is trying to destroy everything I've built. She's always been jealous of my success, but this is next-level toxic. The comments flooded in. We support you, Queen. Family shouldn't act like this. Send her healing energy. My office phone rang. Quincy. Your sister just got served with the account restriction notices, she said. And the preliminary APS investigation findings. How are you holding up? I'm watching her meltdown on Instagram Live. Good. Let her incriminate herself. We've got surveillance at the condo and… A new message popped up on my screen. From Ren. Please, I need to talk to you. In person. No cameras, no lawyers, just sisters. Quincy was still talking. Don't meet with her alone. Whatever you do. She's asking to meet. A pause. Where? The coffee shop near my office. We'll have someone there. Go. Let her talk. Record everything. The coffee shop was nearly empty when I arrived. Ren sat in a corner booth, no makeup, looking almost like the little sister I remembered. Almost. They're going to take the condo, she said as I sat down. The mortgage company called. Something about Dad's social security number? You committed fraud, Ren. I was going to pay it back, once the property value increased. With what money? The money you stole from their care fund? She leaned forward, voice dropping. Look, I know you're mad, but I can fix this. Just let me access the accounts again. Just until I sell the condo. I've got buyers interested already. And Mom and Dad? What about their medication? Their care? I've been taking care of them. She pulled out her phone. Look, I visit all the time. I make sure they're eating. I even got them these amazing supplements that are way better than those expensive pills. They need their prescribed medication, Ren. Dad had a stroke. Mom has dementia. They're not your social media props. At least I make them happy. When's the last time you did anything but nag them about doctors and bills? My phone buzzed. A text from Piper. APS just finished interviewing your parents. Found undelivered medication packages. Documented everything. Stay calm. Ren was still talking. I could help them so much more if you'd just trust me. We could move them into the condo. I could feature them in my wellness videos. No. Why are you being like this? Her voice rose. They want to help me succeed. They love me enough to invest in my future. They're not investing. They're being exploited. And it stops now. She stood up suddenly, knocking over her untouched coffee. You've always wanted to control everything. Always had to be the responsible one, the perfect one. Well, guess what? They chose me. They signed those papers because they believe in me. They signed because they're sick, and you took advantage of them. Screw you! She grabbed her designer bag. I'm calling my lawyer. You want a war? Fine, let's see who they believe. The bitter caretaker or the daughter who actually makes them proud. As she stormed out, my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. This is Marley, Ren's partner. We need to talk. There's something you should know about those papers she had your parents sign. Another message from Quincy. Got it all on surveillance. Perfect. But heads up, your sister just went live again. She's calling you an abuser. This is about to get ugly. I opened Instagram. Ren was already streaming from her car, sobbing dramatically. My own sister, trying to destroy my business. All because she can't stand seeing me succeed. Help me fight this injustice. Link in bio for my legal defense fund. The comments section was a flood of support and hate. For her, for me, for everyone involved. Her follower count was climbing by the hundreds. My phone buzzed one more time. Marley again. Before things get worse, you should know what really happened with those documents. Can we meet? Alone? I stared at the message, thinking about all the ways this could be a trap. But if he had evidence, send me the address. I typed back. And Marley, if you're setting me up, remember, I've got APS on speed dial now. His response came quickly. No setup, just guilt, and proof. Lots of proof. Marley chose a dimly lit bar far from Ren's usual haunts. He looked different in person than in Ren's videos. Less polished, more haunted. He had a manila envelope on the table. I'm recording this, I said, placing my phone between us. He nodded. Smart. I would too. He pushed the envelope toward me. These are copies. Originals are somewhere safe. Inside were documents, dozens of them, forged signatures, backdated contracts, a caregiving agreement with my parents' names scrawled in handwriting that was clearly Ren's attempt at forgery. She made these 3 weeks ago, Marley said, backdated them 6 months. Why are you showing me this? He took a long drink from his beer. Because she's planning to flee, Costa Rica. She's got a buyer lined up for the condo, some guy who doesn't ask questions about paperwork. The money's supposed to hit her account next week. And you're just telling me this now? Look, I didn't know how deep it went at first. Thought she was just being creative with her finances. He pulled out his phone. But then I found these. Text screenshots filled his screen. Ren discussing offshore accounts, planning to disappear for a while once the sale went through, joking about her parents being too confused to testify. Jesus, I whispered. There's more. He swiped to a video. Ren in her condo, clearly drunk, laughing with someone off camera. They don't even read what they're signing anymore. Dad can barely hold a pen, and Mom? God, She'd sign her own death warrant if I told her it was for my business. It's almost too easy. My hands were shaking. Why help her do this? She said it was just creative accounting, rich parents helping their kid get started. He looked down. Then last week I went to drop off some contracts. Your dad was alone, slumped in his wheelchair. No nurse, no meds, just sitting there. That's when I knew I had to do something. My phone buzzed. Piper. Where are you? Ren's latest video is threatening legal action against you and your workplace. She's spiraling, Marley said, seeing the message. Yesterday she talked about having you fired. Said she'd tell your hospital you're stealing patient medications. I work in administration. Yeah, well, truth isn't really her thing. He pulled out a USB drive. Everything's on here. Texts, emails, videos, bank transfers, even her Costa Rica contacts. He slid it across the table. I'm leaving town tonight, getting as far from this mess as I can. She'll come after you too. Let her try. I've got copies of everything, scheduled to auto-send to the FBI if anything happens to me. He stood up. One more thing. Check her Instagram DMs. She's been coaching her followers to harass you. Giving them your work address, your schedule. Be careful. As if on cue, my phone exploded with notifications. Ren had posted again. Emergency update. Just found out my sister has been stealing from our parents for years. Receipts coming soon. Share this to protect other families from toxic siblings. Justice for Ren, Char's family betrayal. The comments were instant and vicious. Hope you lose your job. Karma's coming for you. Drop her work address in the comments. Another message from Piper. Your sister just filed a countersuit. Claims you've been emotionally manipulating your parents. Quincy needs to see you now. Marley looked at my phone. She's got nothing to back that up. Doesn't matter. The damage is done. I grabbed the USB and envelope. Why did you really help her, Marley? He paused at the door. Because I fell for the act. Just like everyone else. But unlike her followers, I got to see behind the curtain. He pulled his collar down, revealing a faded scar. My own sister pulled something similar with my family's money. Sometimes the worst predators are the ones who smile for the cameras. My phone rang. Quincy. Morgan? We've got a problem. Your sister just submitted paperwork claiming she's your parents' legal guardian. Documents dated before our investigation started. They look forged, but they'll delay everything while they're verified. I finished. Exactly. And she's already moved your parents to her condo. Says it's for their protection from you. I thought of Dad alone in his wheelchair, of Mom signing whatever was put in front of her. I'm sending you something, I said. Evidence, lots of it, from her business partner. Bring it straight to my office. And Morgan, be careful. Your sister's followers are getting aggressive. Don't go anywhere alone. I looked at the USB drive in my hand. 6 years of caring for my parents. A lifetime of watching Ren manipulate everyone around her. All coming down to this little piece of plastic. I won't be alone, I said. I'll have the truth with me. The APS raid on Ren's condo happened while I was at work. Piper kept me updated through texts. Police and APS just arrived. Ren's live streaming the whole thing. They found the medication stash, all unopened. Your parents are being evaluated by medical team. I couldn't watch Ren's stream, but the screenshots flooded my work email. Ren, mascara running, screaming at officers. This is my property. You can't just barge in here. Ren, blocking the entrance to her bedroom. Those documents are private. This is harassment. Ren, following the medical team as they examined our parents. They're fine. Look how happy they are here. Morgan is the abusive one. Then came the workplace calls. First, HR. Morgan, we're receiving hundreds of calls about you. Accusations of theft, elder abuse. We need to place you on administrative leave. Then security. There's a group of people in the lobby. They're demanding you be fired. Say they're justice warriors for someone named Ren? Piper called next. Turn on the local news. I did. There was Ren, perfectly posed for the cameras outside her condo, tears glinting. My sister Morgan has always been jealous of my success. Now she's using her connections to steal my home and destroy my business. She's already stolen thousands from our parents and... The feed cut off as an APS officer stepped in front of the camera, holding up documents. We are executing a warrant based on evidence of elder abuse and financial fraud. Miss Wren is not to approach her parents or access any joint accounts until the investigation is complete. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. You deserve to die for what you're doing to Wren. We know where you work. Another. Karma's coming for you. Watch your back. And another. Found her LinkedIn. Everyone report her to her hospital board. Piper's voice cut through. Don't respond to any messages. We're documenting everything. The threats, the harassment, it all helps our case. I looked out my office window. The crowd in the parking lot had grown. Signs reading, "Justice for Wren" and "Stop Sister Abuse" bobbed above angry faces. My computer pinged. An email from our hospital's legal team. Due to the ongoing situation and safety concerns, we recommend working remotely until further notice. Another text from Piper. Your parents are being moved to a secure medical facility. Wren tried to stop the ambulance. It's on video. I opened social media against my better judgment. Wren's latest post had millions of views. They took my parents! This is what jealousy and corruption looks like. My sister works for the hospital system, and she's using her power to kidnap our parents. Please share. Please help. Link in bio for my legal defense fund. The comments were a tsunami of rage. This is sick. Report her sister. Morgan is a monster. Found her address in the comments. Let's show her what karma feels like. My phone rang. Mom's number, but when I answered, it was a nurse. Your mother wanted me to pass along a message. She says, "Why are you doing this to your sister? She's all I have left." Security knocked on my office door. "Ms. Morgan, we need to escort you out through the back entrance. The crowd is getting aggressive." Piper called again. The firm is considering dropping the case. The publicity is too intense. But Quincy found something in the documents Marley provided. Something big. What? Wren didn't just forge signatures. She's been selling your parents' prescription medications. That's why they were all unopened. She's looking at federal charges now. My computer screen lit up with notifications. Wren had posted again. Breaking. Evidence of my sister's hospital corruption. She's been stealing medications. Sources coming forward. Justice for Wren. Stop Morgan. Then Quincy called. "Morgan, we've got her. The prescription fraud is documented, but she's desperate now. Dangerous. We're sending police to your location. Don't go home tonight." I looked down at the parking lot. The crowd had started chanting my name. A final text from Piper. Wren just went live again. She's having a complete meltdown, confessing everything but spinning it as protecting your parents from you. It's all being recorded. I closed my eyes, thinking of Mom's message, of Dad sitting alone in his wheelchair, of Wren, who had finally shown the world exactly who she was, just not in the way she intended. Security was at my door again. "Ms. Morgan, the back exit is clear. We need to move now." As they led me out, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from Quincy. The truth is coming out, but the question is, at what cost to everyone involved? Looking at the chaos around me, I already knew the answer. The cost was everything. The APS conference room felt too small for the weight of what was about to happen. Mom and Dad sat across from me, a social worker between us. Wren was at the far end, her lawyer whispering urgently in her ear. No phones allowed, no cameras, no performance. Quincy laid out documents one by one. Let's start with the medication logs. The social worker gentle touched Mom's hand. "Mrs. Norris, do you recognize these pills?" Mom stared at the photos of unopened prescription bottles. "Those are our medications? Found in your daughter Wren's condo, still sealed." Quincy placed another document down, along with records of sales to various buyers. "That's a lie?" Wren stood up, but her lawyer pulled her back down. "The bank records," Quincy continued. show exactly when and how the care fund was drained, including the fraudulent mortgage application using your father's social security number. Dad stirred in his wheelchair. I didn't sign anything. No, sir, you didn't. Quincy played an audio file. Ren's drunken voice filled the room. It's so easy to fake Dad's signature now. His hand shakes anyway. Who's gonna know the difference? And Mom, God, she'd sign anything if I cry a little first. Mom's face crumpled. Ren? Is that really you? It's fake. Morgan probably. Your Instagram live confessions, Quincy cut in. The text messages to Marley about fleeing to Costa Rica, the forged caregiver agreements, the prescription sales receipts. Are those fake too? Ren's lawyer leaned forward. We'd like a moment to... No. Ren shoved him away. You want the truth? Fine. Yes, I took the money. Yes, I sold their extra meds. But I deserved it. Do you know what it's like being the family failure? Watching Morgan play perfect daughter year after year? Ren, Mom whispered. You never thought about me at all. Unless it was to compare me to her. Ren pointed at me. Saint Morgan, sacrificing everything to care for you, while I had to claw my way up alone. We gave you everything, Dad said, his voice stronger than I'd heard in months. College money, cars, second chances. Scraps. I needed more. The condo was just the start. I had plans. Real estate empire, social media empire. She laughed wildly. But Morgan couldn't stand seeing me succeed. Succeed? I finally spoke. You left them alone, confused, without medication. They could have died. They were fine, a few missed pills. Your father had a minor stroke last week, Quincy interrupted, at the medical facility, because his blood pressure medication was stopped abruptly. The room went silent. Stroke? Ren's face went pale. Minor, the social worker said. Caught in time, because he was under proper medical care, no thanks to you. Mom started crying. Not the confused tears I'd grown used to, but deep, broken sobs. My baby. My little girl. How could you? Mom, no, listen. Mrs. Norris, Quincy said gently, we need your statement now, about the documents Ren had you sign. Mom straightened, something clearing in her eyes. She said they were for her business, that she needed our help. I didn't read them. I never read them. I just wanted her to be happy. And the money? The account access? I didn't know she'd take it all. Morgan worked so hard, saved so much. Mom turned to me. We never said thank you, not once. Ren stood again, mascara running. This isn't fair. You all would have let me rot. I only took what I deserved. What you deserved? Dad's voice shook. We're your parents, not your bank, not your social media props. The condo will be seized, Quincy said. The money tracked and returned, and Ms. Ren, you're facing federal charges for prescription drug trafficking. You can't do this. Your followers can't help you now. Quincy nodded to the officers at the door. This is reality, not a live stream. As they led Ren out, she screamed back at us, I hate you. I hate all of you. You never loved me like you loved her. The door closed. Mom reached for my hand. Morgan, she whispered, can you ever forgive us? I looked at my parents, really looked at them. Dad, slumped but clear-eyed. Mom, tears tracking down her face, both finally seeing the truth about their daughters. There's nothing to forgive, I said. We all failed each other somehow. Quincy gathered her files. The protective order is permanent. Your parents' care will be overseen by APS. Anne Morgan, you did the right thing. Remember that. But as I watched them wheel Dad out, Mom following with the social worker, I didn't feel righteous. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt hollow. Piper touched my shoulder. You okay? I won, I said. So why does it feel like everyone lost? The nursing home's garden was quiet except for the soft whir of Dad's wheelchair. Mom sat beside him on a bench, holding his hand while they watched birds at the feeder. Their new normal. "The roses are blooming," Mom said as I approached. Her voice was clearer these days, the fog lifting with proper medication and care. "Morgan." Dad's face lit up. "Did you bring the photos?" I sat down, pulling out an old album I'd found while cleaning their house. From that summer at the lake house. We flipped through pages of sun-bleached memories. Mom pointed to a picture of two little girls on the dock. "Look at you and Ren. You were always trying to keep her from falling in." "She jumped in anyway," I said. "Every time." Dad's hand trembled as he touched the photo. "The sentencing is tomorrow?" "Yes." I'd received the notification from Quincy yesterday. They're expecting a plea deal. "Will she—" Mom hesitated. "Will she go to prison?" "Probably not. House arrest, mandatory counseling, restitution payments." I turned the page. "She's already sold the condo. The money's being returned to your protected trust." "And her followers? The ones who threatened you?" "Most of them moved on once the evidence went public. Some actually apologized." I showed them my phone. My hospital position was reinstated, with a promotion. Mom squeezed my hand. "We watched all her videos, you know. Every single one. Even when we were confused about everything else, we never missed them." "I know, Mom. But we missed you," Dad said suddenly. "Right in front of us every day. We missed you." A nurse approached with their medication cart. Not hidden, not sold, not forgotten. Just simple care, properly managed. "Have you read her letter?" Mom asked after taking her pills. I had. It arrived yesterday, required by the court as part of Ren's plea agreement. 5 pages of explanation, justification, and finally, on the last page, something close to remorse. "She says she's starting therapy," I said. "Learning about narcissistic patterns, childhood trauma, family dynamics." "Do you believe her?" "I believe she's trying to avoid jail time." I closed the photo album. But maybe that's unfair. Maybe she is changing. Dad pointed to the bird feeder. "See those 2 cardinals? The bright one keeps pushing the quiet one away from the seeds. But they're still a pair. Still family." "Very subtle, Dad." He smiled. A real smile, not the vacant one from Ren's videos. "We failed you both. Different ways. Same pain." "The therapist at the home," Mom added, "says we enabled Ren's worst impulses and took your stability for granted." "It's not that simple." "No," she agreed. "It's not, but it's true." She pulled another envelope from her sweater. "We wrote you something too, when our minds were clear." Inside was a single page, covered in their shaky handwriting. Not a performance, not a script, just truth. "Dear Morgan, we're sorry we didn't see you. Really see you. You were our rock while Ren was our star, and that wasn't fair to either of you. Thank you for fighting for us, even when it hurt. Thank you for being strong enough to stop the cycle. We love you. Not for what you do for us, but for who you are. Love, Mom and Dad." The nurse returned. "Time for physical therapy, Mr. Norris." As they wheeled Dad away, Mom touched my arm. "Will you ever forgive her?" I watched a cardinal at the feeder, the quiet one, finally getting its share. "I don't know, but I'm not angry anymore. That's something." "She's still your sister." "Yes, but I'm not her keeper, or her victim, or her rival." I helped Mom up. "I'm just me now." My phone buzzed. A text from Piper. "Plea deal confirmed. Ren agreed to all terms. You can breathe now." Another notification popped up. My first social media post since everything happened. A simple message. "Family is complicated. Healing is harder. But the truth matters more than any story we tell about it." Mom read it over my shoulder. "That's good. That's real." "Yeah," I said, watching another cardinal join the pair at the feeder. "It is." We walked inside together, past the medication cart, past the caring nurses, past all the safeguards I'd fought to put in place. Not for revenge, not for justice, but for love. The complicated, messy, real kind. "Morgan," Mom said as we reached her room, "I'm proud of you. Not for winning, for surviving, for staying true." I hugged her, feeling the strength in her arms, strength that proper care had restored. "I love you, Mom." "I know," she whispered. "Finally, I know." Revenge didn't cost me my soul, but it taught me something better: how to save everyone else's.